Chapter 9:16. Beside the river, Li Mubai sat quietly for a long time without saying anything. Beside him, the middle-aged man had a slight smile on his face. He did not say anything else and simply waited. The 6 experts were the biggest stumbling block for the Devouring Spirit clan, but the Devouring Spirit clan had never thought of eradicating them. Those who could be eradicated must be eradicated, and those who could be roped in must be roped in. Because if all 6 of them became enemies with the Devouring Spirit clan, the Devouring Spirit clan would not be able to bear it. Just then, Li Mubai suddenly shook his head. I want her to live, but she certainly doesn't want me to become someone else's slave. The middle-aged man immediately said, twice. As he spoke, he looked at Li Mubai. Help my clan twice. After these 2 times, we are even. Li Mubai looked at the middle-aged man who said with a smile, of course, if you are still unwilling, it doesn't matter. The Devouring Spirit clan does not want to be enemies with you. By the river, Li Mubai was lost in thought. The middle-aged man said again, the sooner we save her, the greater the hope. At this time, the fishing rod in Li Mubai's hand suddenly trembled. The fish took the bait. However, Li Mubai still did not move. Fu Wenzong. After returning to Fu Wenzong with the Azura clan experts, Yi Xian immediately began to draw talismans. Because some experts had come to Fu Wenzong for the bounty he had issued before. These people were not weak and they were willing to fight for him on the premise that he needed talismans. He did not need to draw the perfect orange talisman. Some top rune masters in Fu Wenzong could draw it. He mainly needed to draw the 7-color talismans because he was the only one who could draw the 7-color talismans. And all the rune masters in Fu Wenzong were also drawing talismans crazily. Now, it could be said that Fu Wenzong was going to arm the Azura cavalry to the teeth. About 5 days later, Yi Xian left his hut. At this moment he looked tired and a little pale. At this time Xin Xinghe hurriedly came to him. Little Grand Master, are you all right? Yi Xian shook his head. He opened his palm, in which there were 3 7-color talismans. In these 5 days he had drawn a total of 3 7-colored talismans. It wasn't that he didn't want to draw more, it was just that drawing these 7-colored talismans was too mentally taxing. Moreover, drawing the 7-color talisman required one more thing, and that was materials. It required far too many precious materials. Fortunately, Fu Wenzong was filthy rich. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to draw a single one of them. As if he had thought of something, Yi Xian suddenly opened his palm and the primal chaos chi appeared in his hand. Xin Xinghe's expression instantly changed when he saw the primal chaos chi. Gashi. This was the most important thing in drawing the 7-colored talisman. Yi Xian glanced at the surroundings and then he said softly, Old Xin, I want this strand of chaotic energy to grow in our Fu Wenzong, so that everyone can absorb it. Upon hearing this, Xin Xinghe was stunned. In the next moment he hurriedly shook his head. Absolutely not. This is yours? Yi Xian shook his head. With the primal chaos chi, all of you will have a chance to draw the 7-colored talisman as well. As for the others in the sect, they will have a greater chance of drawing the perfect talisman. Of course, this strand of chaotic energy is still young, and it can't be absorbed without restraint. So, we need to nurture it and turn it into a spiritual vein of chaotic energy. Only then will it be able to benefit our Fu Wenzong for generations to come. Xin Xinghe had a rather complicated expression on his face. Needless to say, he was feeling very complicated at this moment because he hadn't expected that Yi Xian would hand over the primal chaos chi. After all, this strand of chaotic energy could be said to be the last strand of chaotic energy in the entire 5th dimension. Its preciousness couldn't be measured by anything. At this moment he recalled Lu Yong's words. Yi Xian wasn't an ingrate. If Fu Wenzong treated him well, he would definitely treat Fu Wenzong well. Xin Xinghe collected his thoughts and looked at Yi Xian. Little ancestor, if you hand over the primal chaos chi, what will happen to you? Yi Xian smiled. My body is now filled with primal chaos chi. Upon hearing this, Xin Xinghe understood. The primal chaos chi had stayed in Yi Xian's body for a long time. It could be said that Yi Xian's body was equivalent to the primal chaos chi. Of course, losing the primal chaos chi would also affect him. For example, if he left Fu Wenzong, although he could still draw the 7-colored talisman, he wouldn't be able to use it as freely as before. However, he didn't regret it. If others treated him with kindness, he would definitely treat them with kindness. The moment the primal chaos chi appeared in Fu Wenzong, the entire Fu Wenzong was in an uproar. Fu Wenzong was very rich, but he couldn't buy the primal chaos chi. It was also because of the primal chaos chi that many powerhouses in Fu Wenzong were unable to draw the 7-colored talisman and regretted it for the rest of their lives. Now Fu Wenzong had the primal chaos chi. It wouldn't be long before Fu Wenzong's overall strength would make a huge leap. When they learned that the primal chaos chi was contributed by Yi Xian, some of the elders in Fu Wenzong had mixed feelings. Of course, most of them felt gratified and happy. They treated Yi Xian as one of them, and Yi Xian also treated himself as a part of Fu Wenzong. In the beginning they were worried because Yi Xian had come to Fu Wenzong halfway. They were afraid that Yi Xian would not have a sense of belonging to Fu Wenzong. But looking at it now, they were worried for nothing. After bidding farewell to Xin Xinghe, Yi Xian went to Enlanxiu and Lian Wanli's courtyard. The two women were in closed-door cultivation at this moment. Meanwhile, Lu Yong appeared by Yi Xian's side, and Lu Yong said in a light voice, "They're really extraordinary geniuses." Yi Xian smiled and said, "What?" Lu Yong said, "They improved too quickly. The two of them have already reached the yin-yang realm not long ago. If they come out of closed-door cultivation this time, they'll probably reach the life and death realm." Life and death realm. Yi Xian was visibly moved. Even though he had already reached the life and death realm, it was because he relied on his bloodline and devoured the devouring spirit clan sword. On the other hand, Enlanxiu and Lian Wanli did not have any great fortuitous encounters. These two women had truly relied on their own talent. In terms of talent, the two women were really not inferior to him. Of course, it couldn't do without Fu Wenzong's support. One had to know that in Fu Wenzong, the two women could get almost anything they wanted. Without Fu Wenzong's support, the two women wouldn't have been able to improve so quickly. As if thinking of something, Yi Xian asked again, "What about Xiao Qi?" Lu Yong said solemnly, "She's even more terrifying. She has now reached the life and death realm, and her sword Dao seems to be breaking through." Sword Dao breakthrough. Yi Xian was a little shocked. Sword Dao breakthrough. The realms of Sword Dao were simple, void, true, bright, break, and mortal. And in the four-dimensional universe, Xiao Qi's Sword Dao realm had already broken through. Now that she had broken through, could it be that she was going to reach the legendary mortal realm? Mortal realm. His current realm was just breaking through, so he had to work hard. Yi Xian did not disturb the three women and was about to leave. At this moment, Xiao Ling suddenly appeared in front of him. Xiao Ling blinked and then opened her small hand. In her hand was a golden core. Yi Xian was stunned. At this moment, Lu Yong said in shock, This is the legendary Meru golden core." Xiao Ling looked at Lu Yong and quickly nodded. Seeing this, Lu Yong gulped and his hands trembled. This really is a Meru golden core?" Yi Xian hurriedly asked. "Senior, is this Sumeru golden elixir very precious?" Quote, Lu Yong smiled bitterly. "It's not just precious, it's very, very precious. It's not any less precious than the seven-colored talisman. Moreover, it's been thousands of years since anyone in the alchemy sect has refined such a high-grade pill." Hearing this, Yi Xian was shocked. "So precious?" Lu Yong nodded. "Very precious. This pill is called Meru Golden Core. It has a very, very heaven-defying effect. After swallowing this pill, one can obtain the power of Meru within, and this power of Meru." Speaking up to here, he looked at Yi Xian. "This power of Meru is a very mysterious power. As for its real use, I don't know either. However, Miss Lian Qian beside you should know." At this time, Lian Qian suddenly appeared beside Yi Xian. She looked at the golden core and said softly, "Xiao Ling refined it." Xiao Ling smiled proudly. She was very happy. Lian Qian gently rubbed Xiao Ling's small head and said, "Meru is a kind of energy substance. In the past, Master studied it. He once said that a small Meru can contain thousands of universes." Yi Xian frowned. "So mysterious?" Lian Qian shook her head. "Master never speaks carelessly. In order to enter the fourth dimension, one must grasp the power of Meru. Only by grasping the power of Meru can one truly enter the legendary fourth dimension. Of course, some people can use special methods to enter the fourth dimension. However, they can only enter it temporarily. Moreover, it's very different from actually entering the fourth dimension." As she spoke, she picked up the golden core and said softly, "If you swallow this golden core, you'll obtain some power of Meru. At that time, you can rely on this power to temporarily enter the fourth dimension. Of course, it won't be for too long. Moreover, a golden core can only allow you to enter the fourth dimension once. Also, this Jindan is much more precious than your seven-colored talisman because in order to refine this Sumeru Jindan, one must possess a profound chi that is even stronger than this Sumeru power. Even the primal chaos chi cannot refine this kind of divine pellet." As she spoke, she looked at Xiao Linger. "Little guy, what kind of chi did you use to refine it?" Yi Xian and Lu Yong also looked at Xiao Linger. Xiao Linger opened her palm and a wisp of purple qi appeared in her hand. Purple qi. Lu Yong's expression instantly turned solemn. What kind of qi is this? Xiao Linger said in a crisp voice. Buy for me. But Lu Yong frowned slightly. Just as he was about to speak, Yi Xian suddenly said, it's a furry white little guy. Elder Lu probably doesn't know him. Lu Yong nodded slightly and didn't say anything. He looked at the wisp of purple qi with eyes full of curiosity. Yi Xian looked at Xiao Linger and smiled. Do you still have this qi? Xiao Linger blinked and then nodded. Yes. Yi Xian walked up to Xiao Linger and squatted down. He said softly, did you specially refine this for me? Xiao Linger nodded. Yes. Yi Xian felt a surge of warmth in his heart. He held Xiao Linger's little hand and said softly, thank you. Xiao Linger hesitated and then said, can I call you brother? Yi Xian laughed. Of course you can. Xiao Linger smiled sweetly. Brother. Brother? P.S. I'm sending a red packet to everyone. Remember to collect it. Big red packet. Chapter 9:17. Big Brother. In Xiao Linger's heart, she had always regarded Yi Xian as her big brother. Xiao Linger was not a human, so she was very distrustful of humans. Of course, Yi Xian was not an exception. Because after being together with Yi Xian for so long, she had already regarded Yi Xian as her closest relative. Moreover, she also hoped to call Yi Xian big brother like Yi Ling did. There was no reason, it was just a pure wish. When Yi Xian agreed, she was very happy. Yi Xian picked up Xiao Linger and gently kissed her forehead. He was also very happy, but of course he was even more distressed. During this period of time, this little guy must have suffered a lot in the world prison pagoda. Thinking of this, Yi Xian grabbed Xiao Linger's small hand and softly said, don't work too hard, okay? Xiao Linger blinked her eyes and said, help you? Yi Xian smiled and said, you can help big brother, but you can't be too tired, okay? Xiao Linger nodded her small head, then suddenly leaned on Yi Xian's shoulder and yawned, I want to sleep. Saying this, she slowly closed her eyes. In order to refine this Sumeru pill, she had not rested for a very long time. Yi Xian was somewhat distressed. This little guy must be very tired. He gently hugged Yi Ling and did not disturb this little guy. Just like this, Xiao Linger fell asleep on Yi Xian's shoulder. On the side, Lu Yong looked at Xiao Linger with a strange expression. Yi Xian was a divine talisman master, and now there was such a monstrous alchemy genius. The status of the alchemy sect in the fifth dimension was not lower than that of Fu Wenzong. Furthermore, if the alchemy sect were to find out about Xiao Linger's existence, they would definitely go crazy. After a while, Yi Xian released Xiao Linger back into the world prison pagoda. As if he had thought of something, Yi Xian walked up to the 9th floor. He had always been curious about the identity of the 9th floor. To be locked in the 9th floor, he was definitely not an ordinary person. In front of the 9th pagoda, Yi Xian asked softly, Senior? No response. Yi Xian was about to leave when a voice sounded from behind the door. What's the matter? Yi Xian stopped and said with a smile, Senior, can you come out? The 9th replied, Not yet. Yi Xian was silent. The person on the 9th floor suddenly said, Don't worry, I don't have any enmity towards you and I won't steal your Xiao Ta. Yi Xian was a little surprised. Why? The 9th house replied, Because you have too many backers. I can't beat them. Yi Xian, the person on the 9th floor suddenly said, I have a small suggestion. Yi Xian said, Senior, please say it. The person on the 9th floor said, You have many backers, but that doesn't mean you are absolutely safe. Especially now you are facing the Devouring Soul clan. This clan is far stronger than you can imagine. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, Senior, do you understand the Devouring Soul clan? The person on the 9th floor said, Very much. After all, I have had many dealings with them. I can only tell you that they are not simple. If it weren't for the Prophet, the Devouring Soul clan would be the only ones left in the 5th dimension. Yi Xian asked, Can they beat the plain-dressed woman? The person on the 9th floor was silent for a while, then said, If you continue to chat like this, then I won't continue. Yi Xian smiled, I'm just curious. The person on the 9th floor said, The strength of the plain-dressed woman behind you has always been a mystery. However, the Devouring Soul clan is not weak. In the past, they were the #1 clan in the 5th dimension. Although they were seriously injured by the Prophet, as far as I know, their core experts still exist. Now that the Prophet has disappeared and they have reappeared, the 5th dimension will face another calamity. Yi Xian shook his head and sighed, The Prophet is too kind. The person on the 9th floor said, It is not that he is kind. You should know that he wanted to destroy the entire Devouring Soul clan because the threat of this clan was too great. However, at that time, the Devouring Soul clan had a population of over 100 million. If he asked you to kill 100 million, including the old and the young, would you be able to do it? Yi Xian said indifferently, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, however many there are, I will kill them all. The person on the 9th floor sighed, young man, it is not a bad thing to have a benevolent heart. Just like you, if you didn't have a benevolent heart to save that little alchemy girl, how could you have obtained a divine item like the Sumeru pill? There is also your sister Yiling. If you didn't treat her with sincerity, treating her more important than your own life, would the Shura Empress call you brother? Humans are born with good nature. Of course, it is accompanied by evil. Everything has two sides and everything you do has a cause. This is a good deed and in the future, it may lead to good results. What you do is evil and in the future, it may lead to evil results. Yi Xian said, Senior, there are many times when we don't have good results when we do good deeds. Isn't that right? The person on the 9th floor said, this is uncertainty and it is also a wonderful thing about this world. Everything seems to be predetermined, but in reality it is not. The ending is not predetermined. For example, an ordinary person may not be born well, but that doesn't mean he can't change his fate. What I want to tell you is that you were able to safely reach this point not because you are ruthless, but because you planted good karma, and now you have reaped good results. Karma. Yi Xian shook his head. These two words were too mysterious. As if he had thought of something, Yi Xian looked in front of him. Senior, you are an extraordinary person in the 5th dimension, right? The person on the 9th floor smiled. I am just a nobody not worth mentioning. Yi Xian shook his head. Like hell I'll believe you. However, he didn't ask any more questions. He cupped his fists and left. As soon as he left the prison pagoda, 12 powerhouses in black armor with blades in their hands suddenly appeared before him. The 12 Shura Death Guards. These 12 people were even stronger than the Shura Iron Cavalry, and they were the super elites of the Shura Kingdom. When the 12 of them saw Yi Xian, they all knelt on one knee. They didn't dare act rashly in front of Yi Xian because they knew how important Yi Xian was to the Shura Empress. Yi Xian sized up the 12 people. Then he said, from now on, you will follow me and wait for my orders. The 12 nodded in unison, understood. Yi Xian looked up at the horizon, in the direction of the Devouring Spirit clan. He knew that the Devouring Spirit clan would make a big move soon. A moment later Yi Xian turned around and left, returning to his room. In the room Yi Xian took out all of his treasures in one go. Executing Heaven Sword, Soul Suppressing Sword, All Heaven Brush, Myriad Dimensional Mirror, Book Realm, and the Void Spirit Seal that Li Mubai gave him. These were the treasures he could use at the moment. As for the Immortal Slaying Sword Gourd, they were already outdated. A moment later Yi Xian put away all his treasures. He opened his palm and the prison pagoda appeared in his hand. Looking at the prison pagoda in his hand, Yi Xian fell into silence. Hand over the pagoda? If it was before, he wouldn't be greedy for this treasure. But now he wouldn't casually give this Xiaota away. Because Xiaota treated him as a friend. Dao laws. I must return all the Dao laws. Yi Xian was about to speak when Lian Chen suddenly said, I know what you're thinking. Yanjia and I, you have found Big Sister, but the whereabouts of the other Dao laws are still unknown. Your top priority now isn't the Dao laws because they might not necessarily listen to your orders. What you need to do now is to let the tiny pagoda recover its spiritual intelligence completely. If it can, it'll be of great help to you. Moreover, the gathering of the 9 Dao laws will require the cooperation of the tiny pagoda in order to unleash its true power. But Xiaota doesn't have the ability to utilize the 9 Dao laws yet. Yi Xian said in a low voice, how can I let it recover completely? Lian Chen said, the Academy. Yi Xian frowned slightly. The Worldwide Academy? Lian Chen nodded. There's a sacred place in the Worldwide Academy called the Ocean of Learning. It can only be restored by placing it in the deepest part of the Ocean of Learning. Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, I'll go look for Zhang Wenxiu. As soon as he finished speaking, he put the pagoda away and left Fu Wenzone. Yi Xian had just left the strategist sect when an old man suddenly appeared in front of him. Yi Xian sized the old man up and said, and you are? The old man bowed slightly. Old man. The sect master of the strategist sect, Xian Tiance. The strategist sect. It was the sect master of the strategist sect who'd helped the Worldwide Academy's dean, Qin Tian, put a bounty on Yi Ling's head. Yi Xian shook his head. I don't. Xian Tian spoke in a low voice. Divine Sage Yi, I have some information that might be helpful to you. Yi Xian sized Xian Tians up and asked, "What information?" Xian Tians spoke in a low voice. "According to my investigations, the devouring spirit race has been to Immortal Banished City." Immortal Banished City. Yi Xian frowned slightly. "They've gone to look for Li Mubai?" Xian Tians nodded. "Not only have they gone to look for Li Mubai, but they've also gone to the Endless Lands." The Endless Lands? Yi Xian was slightly puzzled. "What's that place?" Xian Tians spoke in a low voice. "The Endless Lands are located at the end of the south. There's a primeval race there." "The primeval race?" Yi Xian said, "Sir, please tell me more." At this moment, Lian Chen appeared by Yi Xian's side. She glanced at Xian Tians and said, "Let me explain. The primeval race was once an extraordinary race. In the years after the devouring spirit race vanished, 3 extraordinary races emerged, and the primeval race was one of them. Besides the primeval race, there was also the evil spirit race and the mysterious martial race. When you were still alive, the Worldwide Academy was the #1 power in the world. Besides the Worldwide Academy, there were these 3 races: the Zen sect, the Pope, and the mysterious Martial Kingdom." Yi Xian asked, "The Zen sect? The Pope? The Martial Kingdom?" Lian Chen nodded. "These 2 sects are very mysterious. Back then, before Master appeared, they were already around. Moreover, their disciples were spread all over the world and they were extremely powerful. However, after Master appeared, they completely hid themselves and slowly disappeared from the eyes of the world. As for the Martial Kingdom, they were from the same era as the Azura Kingdom. In the past, there were 2 extremely powerful cavalry forces. They were the Azura Cavalry and the God-Burying Cavalry. As for the God-Burying Cavalry, they were the cavalry of the Martial Kingdom." As she spoke, she looked at Yi Xian. "The Azura Cavalry is ranked 2nd, and the God-Burying Cavalry is ranked 1st. Yi Xian said in a soft voice, "They are a bit stronger than the Azura Cavalry." Lian Chen shook her head. "It's not just a bit stronger, it's much, much stronger. It can be said that 10 God-Burying Cavalrymen are able to sweep away the entire Azura army. In the past, the reason that the Azura King killed so many people to practice his evil cultivation technique was because the threat that the Martial Kingdom posed to the Azura Kingdom was far, far too great. In that era, no one could compete with the God-Burying Cavalry." Yi Xian asked, "Then why hasn't there been any movement from them?" Lian Chen fell silent for a moment before she said, "Because they've been suppressed by Master. Back then, anyone who was unwilling to reason with Master was basically suppressed." Yi Xian was speechless. Chapter 9:18. Domineering. This was Yi Xian's first impression. "Strength. I have strength. If I want to reason, everyone in the world has to reason with me. On the contrary, if I don't have strength, even if I have reason, who would be willing to reason with me?" Zhang Wenxiu saw this very clearly. Back then, the Worldwide Academy established the order of the 5-dimensional universe, not because the Prophet was reasonable but because he was powerful. Now that the Prophet had disappeared, who would be willing to reason with the Worldwide Academy? The core of reason was the fist. Thinking of this, Yi Xian looked at the executing heaven sword in his hand. At this moment, he thought of the woman in the plain dress. The woman who was so powerful that she was unreasonable. Reason? He had never seen the woman in the plain dress reason with anyone. Her sword was reason, and with one strike, everything was fleeting. Of course, this was because she had strength. To put it crudely, this was like the secular world. Rich people's farts were fragrant. Yi Xian withdrew his thoughts and looked at Xian Tians in front of him. "Why did you come to tell me this?" Xian Tians bowed respectfully. "Divine Master Yi, to tell you the truth, because of the old man's stupid action, my strategist sect was destroyed. I want Divine Master Yi to help me rebuild the strategist sect." Yi Xian was silent. Xian Tians bowed again. "If Divine Master Yi is willing to help, the old man and the entire strategist sect are willing to work hard." Yi Xian said, "I can help you rebuild the strategist sect, but for now you can only hide in the dark. Is that okay?" Xian Tians naturally understood what Yi Xian meant. Yi Xian wanted them to hide in the dark and serve him alone. Xian Tians hesitated. At this time Yi Xian said, "Don't worry, in the future I will do my best to help your strategist sect and make you a great sect." Xian Tians looked at Yi Xian. "Divine Master Yi, the Shura Empress," Yi Xian said with a smile, "I am her brother. What I say is what she says." "Brother." Xian Tians's eyelids twitched. He had guessed that the Shura Empress was Yi Xian's sister. Sure enough, the Shura Empress was Yi Xian's sister. Without thinking too much, Xian Tianzi said, "Our heavenly strategy sect is willing to serve Divine Master Yi." Yi Xian nodded. From now on, help me collect useful information. Also, keep a close eye on the Devouring Spirit clan. Xian Tianzi said solemnly, we need money. Very straightforward. Yi Xian nodded. Ask Fu Wenzong for reimbursement. Xian Tianzi glanced at Yi Xian. Understood. Fu Wenzong was one of the wealthiest sects in the world. Xian Tianzi bowed slightly to Yi Xian and then turned to leave. Since the destruction of Fu Wenzong, he had always wanted to rebuild Fu Wenzong. He knew that Yi Xian was his chance, so he had been searching for some useful information for Yi Xian. His purpose was very simple. He wanted to find a backer, and this backer was Yi Xian. To be precise, it was Yi Ling. He valued Yi Ling more. After all, Yi Ling was one of the 6 great experts in the world. With Yi Ling's protection, the Heavenly Strategy sect would definitely regain its former glory. As for revenge, he never thought about it because his strength did not allow him to think about it. After parting with Xian Tianzi, Yi Xian went directly to the Worldwide Academy. Repairing the prison tower was what he needed to do now. As soon as he arrived at the Worldwide Academy, Yi Xian once again met an old acquaintance. Lin Xiaoshu, one of the 6 headmasters of the Worldwide Academy. Yi Xian laughed and said, so it's Headmaster Lin. I haven't seen you for a long time. Headmaster Lin, you're even more spirited. Lin Xiaoshu glanced at Yi Xian and turned to leave without saying anything. He did not cause trouble for Yi Xian because it was meaningless. Zhang Wenxiu was in charge of the academy now. To be honest, compared to the headmaster, he was more afraid of Zhang Wenxiu. This woman would not care about anything when she was ruthless. Moreover, he was clearly aware of the current situation, and it was that the Myriad Dimension Academy had to join forces with Yi Xian. Yi Xian arrived at Zhang Wenxiu's courtyard. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu was in her room. Just as he was about to walk over, a black-robed elder suddenly appeared in front of him. Divine Master Yi, please wait for a moment. Yi Xian nodded. All right. With that, he retreated to the side. The black-robed elder glanced at Yi Xian and did not speak. Yi Xian glanced around and said, Senior, as far as I know, the academy has 6 headmasters. Now, it seems that there are only 4 of them. Where are the other 2? The black-robed elder was about to speak when the door behind him suddenly opened. Zhang Wenxiu walked out. Today, Zhang Wenxiu had changed into a simple, tight black dress. Her hair was tied up into a ponytail, and she looked much more heroic than before. Seeing Zhang Wenxiu come out, the black-robed elder retreated. Zhang Wenxiu walked in front of Yi Xian and said calmly, Why are you asking about them? Yi Xian smiled. Isn't this a critical moment? I think you should call them back. Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at the black-robed elder. Do you have any news about them? The black-robed elder nodded. Yes. Headmaster Zhang and Headmaster Su said that they will return after finishing their business. Zhang Wenxiu said, What about Qin Yiming? The black-robed elder said, Still searching. Zhang Wenxiu nodded. We must find him. Tell him that if he doesn't return, I will revoke his student status and expel him from the academy. I will keep my word. The black-robed elder glanced at Zhang Wenxiu and hesitated. This, Zhang Wenxiu said, Do as I say. The black-robed elder nodded. Yes. Zhang Wenxiu said again, What about that woman? Headmaster. The black-robed elder shook his head. There's no news about her. Zhang Wenxiu's face turned cold. How long is this woman going to play around? Yi Xian was speechless. The black-robed elder said, Headmaster might be busy with something important. Zhang Wenxiu sneered. Something important? What could she be busy with? This woman is very lazy. The black-robed elder didn't say anything else. This wasn't something he could interrupt. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. What are you doing here? Yi Xian said in a low voice. Miss Wenxiu, I hope you can help me restore the prison pagoda. Zhang Wenxiu opened his palm. Yi Xian pointed and the prison pagoda fell into Zhang Wenxiu's hand. After sizing up the world prison pagoda, Zhang Wenxiu furrowed her brows. Who was it that injured this small pagoda so badly? The prison pagoda trembled slightly as if it was saying something. A swordsman? Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. Was it done by the woman behind you? Yi Xian nodded. Yes. Zhang Wenxiu said softly, Amazing. After saying that, she was silent for a moment. To restore this pagoda, we have to bring it to the depths of the ocean of learning and use the talent qi there to restore its spirit. Yi Xian frowned. Talent qi. Zhang Wenxiu nodded. The aura of talent. Countless auras of talent have gathered in the depths of the sea of learning. Back then, little pagoda was born there. Now, if we want it to completely recover, we have to bring it to that place. She looked at Yi Xian. Let me tell you, this Xiaotai used to be very rebellious. Except for teacher, it didn't recognize anyone. Even teacher couldn't order it around. Once it recovers, you might not be able to control it. At this moment, the prison pagoda suddenly trembled violently as if expressing something. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly slapped the prison pagoda. Shut up. The prison pagoda immediately became obedient. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly said, "Help it recover." Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. "Are you sure?" Yi Xian nodded. "I'm sure." Zhang Wenxiu said, "Once it recovers, this pagoda might not be under your control. At that time you might lose it completely." Yi Xian smiled. "I have never treated it as my personal property. After it recovers, if it doesn't want to follow me, I won't force it. It's fine as long as it doesn't choose to be my enemy. Even if it chooses to be my enemy, I won't regret it because it has helped me enough." Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. "You have a good attitude." After saying that, she returned the prison pagoda to Yi Xian. Yi Xian said, "Miss Wenxiu, why don't we just open the world dimensional library?" This was his idea. The school had the library and he had the pagoda. As long as they cooperated, opening the library was a piece of cake. Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. And then? Yi Xian was silent. Zhang Wenxiu said, "Unless there's something in the library that makes us invincible on the spot, opening the library is courting death. Not to mention now, even if Headmaster and the Empress were here, they wouldn't be able to protect this library. Don't look down on those who haven't shown themselves. When teacher was here, they didn't dare to show themselves, but that doesn't mean they're weak. Now that teacher is gone, they definitely won't allow our worldwide academy to dominate. Once the library is opened, it will be our time of death." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Then what should we do? Do we just drag it out like this?" Zhang Wenxiu said softly, "We can only drag it out. We have no other choice. Because once the library is opened, all the forces in the fifth dimension will focus their attention on it. Don't underestimate their greed." Yi Xian nodded. "I understand." Zhang Wenxiu stood up. "Let's go. Follow me to Shuahai." After saying that, she turned and left. Yi Xian hurriedly took the prison pagoda and followed. In the fourth dimension. In the fourth dimension, somewhere in the vast starry sky, a woman in a plain dress walked slowly in the starry sky. She just walked slowly. Around her, there were countless invisible karma lines. Some of the karma lines were cut off with a swing of her sword. However, she didn't forcibly cut off some karma lines. Instead, she stopped and observed them carefully. Actually, at her level, she could completely avoid all karma lines. However, most of these karma lines were related to Yi Xian. At this moment, the woman in the plain dress suddenly stopped. Not far from her, a middle-aged man walked over. This person was the former headmaster of the Worldwide Academy, Qin Tian. Qin Tian walked to a place not far from the woman in the plain dress. He looked at her and said, "I've been looking for you for a long time." The woman in the plain dress didn't say anything. Qin Tian said again, "I want to see how strong you are. I hope you won't disappoint me." As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful force suddenly swept out from his body. P.S. Sword Domain and Venerable Swordsman's exclusive peripheral gifts are being ordered. If you want them, you can follow the public account, Green Phoenix Peak. You can directly search the public account, Green Phoenix Peak. Chapter 919. In the starry sky, as soon as Qin Tian's aura appeared, the entire starry sky boiled. This starry sky could not withstand his power at all. Qin Tian knew that the woman in front of him was very strong. Therefore he did not hold back. Soon, the surrounding starry sky began to crack. In the distance, the plain-dressed woman's expression was calm. There was no fluctuation in her eyes. Qin Tian stared at the plain-dressed woman. He suddenly disappeared from where he stood. A powerful force swept across the field. When this force was about 10 feet away from the plain-dressed woman, it suddenly disappeared. Double-dimensional space. This was his limit. He did not hold back in this attack. He did not dare to hold back because he knew that the woman in front of him was very strong, and he wanted to know how strong she was. At this moment, the plain-dressed woman, who had been silent, gently stomped her right foot. Boom. In an instant, the starry sky within a radius of hundreds of thousands of feet turned into nothingness. The starry sky returned to silence. At this time, Qin Tian had already retreated hundreds of feet away. His eyes were dull. "Aren't you a swordsman?" In the distance, the plain-dressed woman was expressionless. "How can an ant like you be worthy of my sword?" With that, she turned and walked into the distance. Behind her, Qin Tian began to disappear bit by bit. Chen Tian looked at the silhouette of the plain-dressed woman at the end of the starry sky. At this moment, his heart was filled with sorrow. In the eyes of others he was actually an ant. He did not even have the right to be drawn. What a tragedy. At this moment he knew that Zhang Wenxiu's decision was right. Why did he fight to the death with Yi Xian? Why did he fight to the death with Yi Xian in the first place? Was it not good to be alive? At this moment he wanted to curse at Yi Xian. If you have such a powerful backer, why don't you tell me? If you tell me, why did I come looking for trouble again and again? Soon, Chen Tian completely disappeared from the silent starry sky. He didn't leave peacefully, nor did he feel at ease. He left with endless unwillingness and regret. In the distance, at the end of the starry sky, the woman in the simple dress walked forward slowly. Suddenly she seemed to have thought of something. She looked up, and when she did, she saw the fifth dimension. Her lips curled up into a smile that caused the entire starry sky to lose color. The plainly dressed woman looked at fifth dimension and said indifferently, "With you here, this world is a little more pleasing to the eye." After saying that, she continued to walk into the distance. Very soon, more and more karmic threads that were invisible to the naked eye extended towards her. Fifth Dimension Worldwide Academy. Yi Xian and Zhang Wenxiu arrived at an ocean. This was the Worldwide Academy's Ocean of Learning, a place created by the Prophet. Soon the two of them arrived at the center of the Ocean of Learning. Zhang Wenxiu pointed into the distance. "Throw it down." Yi Xian nodded. He took out the World Prison Pagoda. He looked at the World Prison Pagoda in his hand. The World Prison Pagoda trembled slightly, as though it was trying to express something. Yi Xian chuckled and said, "Restore your original appearance." After saying that, he opened his palm and the World Prison Pagoda fell into the depths of the ocean. Yi Xian was about to speak when Zhang Wenxiu suddenly raised her head and looked at the horizon. She glanced at the horizon and sneered. "Don't worry. We're not going to open the study room." Yi Xian looked at the horizon. He could feel some obscure and powerful auras. Someone was coming. Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu. "Who are they?" Zhang Wenxiu said indifferently, "There are all kinds of people. There are also people from the Devouring Spirit clan." Yi Xian said solemnly, "Kill them." Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. "Go and do it. I'll cheer for you." Yi Xian said seriously, "Miss Wenxiu, this is the Worldwide Academy. How can you tolerate them acting so unscrupulously in your academy? They have no respect for your academy at all." Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. "Don't you think I, Zhang Wenxiu, look like an idiot?" Yi Xian smiled sheepishly. "What are you saying, Miss Wenxiu?" Zhang Wenxiu said coldly, "Yi Xian, the Azura Hell is on the same boat as you, Fu Wenzong, and the Worldwide Academy. This chapter is not finished. Please continue to the next page. Don't play these stupid games. Understand?" Yi Xian said seriously, "I understand. I won't make such jokes next time." Zhang Wenxiu looked up at the horizon and said softly, "Back then, when teacher was still around, who dared to treat the Worldwide Academy like this?" Yi Xian was silent. He had not lived through the era of the Prophet, but he could imagine how powerful the Worldwide Academy was at that time. Now that the Prophet had disappeared, the Worldwide Academy was no longer as powerful as it used to be. At this time, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly said, "Be careful." Yi Xian frowned slightly. "You mean someone might steal the tower?" Zhang Wenxiu nodded. "Not only that, you have to be careful of that Xiaota. Once it completely regains its spiritual intelligence, it may not be the Xiaota you know anymore." Yi Xian hesitated and then said, "Was it very arrogant before?" Zhang Wenxiu said calmly, "It has the right to be arrogant, especially when it is one with those few Taoist laws. Even the headmaster is not sure that he can defeat it. And if it activates the 9 Taoist laws, even the headmaster has to step aside." Saying that, she paused and then said, "Whether it really recognizes you as its master or not will depend on later." Yi Xian nodded and looked into the depths of the sea of knowledge. He was already mentally prepared. If Xiaota was willing to stay, it would be his fortune. If not, it did not matter. At this time, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly said, "What plans do you have next?" Yi Xian suddenly said, "Miss Wenxiu, among the primordial race, the evil spirit race, the foreign races, and the Wu kingdom, who do you think we have a chance to rope in?" Zhang Wenxiu shook her head. "You can't rope in anyone." Yi Xian was a little puzzled. "Why?" Zhang Wenxiu said softly, "They are all existences that teacher once suppressed. To tell you the truth, if it were not for the formation that teacher left behind and the headmaster, the academy would have died 100 times over. Chen Tian is stupid. He can't see through this, so he targeted you." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "If you say that, then our current situation is very bad. Zhang Wenxiu said, if I'm not wrong, as long as the spirit-devouring race is not stupid, they will definitely join forces with these forces and the other few of the 6 powerhouses. At this point she seemed to think of something and her pupils suddenly shrank. Their goal is the Myriad Dimension Bookhouse, and to get it they must break the formation of the Academy. In other words, if they make a move, it means that they have a way to deal with the formation of the Academy and the headmaster. Yi Xian said in a low voice, when do you think they will make a move? Zhang Wenxiu looked up at the sky. It should be soon. Yi Xian was silent. He knew that once the spirit-devouring race made a move, he would also be their target. At this moment, the depths of the ocean of learning suddenly trembled violently, and waves of water rippled in all directions. Yi Xian collected his thoughts and looked at the depths of the ocean of learning, where a huge whirlpool had appeared. Zhang Wenxiu said softly, it should be coming out soon. Xiaota. Yi Xian looked at the whirlpool and couldn't help but ponder. Is this Xiaota still the Xiaota I know? At this moment Xiaota suddenly rushed up from the depths of the ocean of learning. Boom. In the sky, a powerful force shook from Xiaota's body, and the entire sky directly twisted. At the same time, an invisible pressure shook the surroundings. Yi Xian looked at Xiaota. He had to admit that Xiaota's aura was much stronger than before. In the sky, Xiaota trembled violently. At this moment, an afterimage suddenly rushed toward Xiaota. Below, Yi Xian's face changed and he was about to make a move, but Zhang Wenxiu shook his head. No need. Yi Xian stopped and looked at the sky. At this moment, a powerful force suddenly shook from Xiaota, and the afterimage was directly shaken away. At this moment an old man suddenly rushed toward Xiaota and Xiaota disappeared. Yi Xian was stunned and the next moment his face changed. Xiaota had entered the triple-dimensional space. Triple-dimensional space. Only experts of Yi Ling's level could enter this existence. Even Zhang Wenxiu could only rely on one thing. This chapter is not finished, please continue to the next page. Only some external objects could enter. This small pagoda had easily entered. In the sky the old man's face also changed. When he reacted, his whole body had already exploded and turned into nothingness. So powerful. Yi Xian's eyelids twitched. This Xiaota's strength wasn't just an ordinary kind of terrifying. Moreover, this wasn't Xiaota's peak. It should be known that when all 9 Tao laws were gathered, that would be Xiaota's peak. At this moment, Xiaota suddenly arrived above Yi Xian's head. Beside Yi Xian, Zhang Wenxiu slowly clenched his right hand, ready to make a move at any time. Xiaota suddenly flew in front of Yi Xian. It trembled, then directly turned into a dim light and entered Yi Xian's chest. Yi Xian was stunned. He opened his palm and the prison pagoda appeared in his palm. The prison pagoda trembled slightly and gently rubbed against his hand. It was very intimate. At the side, Zhang Wenxiu took a deep look at Yi Xian. She was extremely shocked. She knew how arrogant this Xiaota was. Back then, this stupid pagoda didn't recognize anyone other than the prophet. Yet now it was so intimate with Yi Xian. This wasn't normal. Yi Xian didn't expect that this Xiaota would be even closer to him after it recovered its intelligence. Could he really be the legendary Heaven's Chosen One? Yi Xian smiled and kept the prison pagoda. He looked at Zhang Wenxiu. Miss Wenxiu, thank you. Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. You're more mysterious than I thought. This Xiaota has already recovered, but the Tao laws in the pagoda haven't been gathered. You have to think of a way to gather all the Tao laws and make them work for you. Only then will you be able to unleash the true power of this Xiaota. Yi Xian nodded. Understood. Miss Wenxiu, I still have matters to attend to, so I'll be taking my leave. Zhang Wenxiu nodded. Be careful. Yi Xian replied, I understand. Farewell. As soon as he finished speaking, he transformed into a ray of light and vanished into the horizon. Meanwhile, Zhang Wenxiu was about to turn around and leave. Suddenly she seemed to have thought of something and her expression changed. She was about to give chase when a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in front of her. The middle-aged man grinned. Miss Wenxiu, please stop. Zhang Wenxiu stared fixedly at the middle-aged man. You want to kill him? The middle-aged man nodded. Yes. Zhang Wenxiu clenched her right fist. The middle-aged man smiled. Unless Miss Wenxiu activates the formation, otherwise, you won't be able to kill me and you won't be able to leave the academy. Zhang Wenxiu's expression was gloomy. She didn't attack. After a short while, she looked up into the sky with a trace of worry in her eyes. Somewhere high up in the clouds, Yi Ling, who was hunting vengeful spirits, suddenly stopped. Not too far away from her stood a man in white. Li Mubai. Yi Ling looked at Li Mubai. You turned to the Devouring Spirit clan? Li Mubai shook his head. I helped them twice. That's all. Hearing this, Yi Ling seemed to think of something. Her pupils suddenly shrank. You can't kill me. You're here to stop me. You want to kill him? Li Mubai nodded. Yi Ling suddenly roared, You all deserve to die. The next moment she rushed directly toward Li Mubai. In the distance, Li Mubai also disappeared. A white light flashed in the field. Fu Wenzong. On this day, dozens of mysterious killers suddenly rushed into Fu Wenzong and began to assassinate people in Fu Wenzong. Fu Wenzong was shocked. After killing someone, these assassins would retreat, but not long after they would appear again. In the Rune Palace, Xin Xinghe's face was gloomy. What do they mean? After a moment of silence, Lu Yong seemed to think of something. He said in horror, They are restraining us. Little Grandmaster is in danger. Hearing this, Xin Xinghe's face changed dramatically. Contact Little Grandmaster. Lu Yong hurriedly crushed a voice-transmitting talisman. But soon his face turned pale. Xin Xinghe looked at Lu Yong. Lu Yong said in a trembling voice, The space in Fu Wenzong has been sealed. We can't contact Little Grandmaster. Xin Xinghe was stunned and then sat down in a chair. End of this chapter. Chapter 920. About an hour after Yi Xian left the Worldwide Academy, he was on his way back to Fu Wenzong when he suddenly stopped. Not far in front of him stood a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man wore a black robe, had long hair, and carried a zither on his back. Yi Xian glanced around and then opened his palm. A voice-transmitting talisman broke. Soon, he frowned because the voice-transmitting talisman did not send any message. Yi Xian crushed another 2 voice-transmitting talismans, but nothing happened. Yi Xian's face darkened. Yi Ling could not be contacted. Zhang Wenxiu could not be contacted. Fu Wenzong could not be contacted. The Devouring Spirit clan was going to attack him. What should I do? Yi Xian calmed down. He looked at the middle-aged man and said with a smile, Are you alone? The middle-aged man shook his head, More than one. As his voice fell, the space around him suddenly trembled. Soon, light curtains suddenly appeared around Yi Xian. These light curtains directly locked the space around Yi Xian. At the same time, behind the middle-aged man, 4 white-robed old men appeared. Outside those light curtains, there was a group of experts wearing white armor and holding long spears. These people's aura locked onto Yi Xian. They were going to besiege him. Yi Xian nodded slightly. More? The man with the zither looked at Yi Xian. Is it not enough? Yi Xian smiled. I'm afraid it's not enough. The man with the zither shook his head. We value you enough. As his voice fell, the zither behind him suddenly trembled slightly. The next moment, a green light flashed like a blade and slashed at Yi Xian. Seeing this green light, Yi Xian's pupils shrank. So strong. The person in front of him was only slightly weaker than Zhang Wenxiu. Yi Xian didn't use his body to block it. He opened his palm and the prison pagoda appeared in his hand. Boom. The green light was directly blocked by the World Prison Pagoda, and the World Prison Pagoda was not damaged at all. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly disappeared. Boundless sword. This time Yi Xian didn't kill. Instead he escaped. With so many people here, he naturally would not choose to fight head-on. Although there was a barrier seal around him, they had overlooked one thing. He had Lian Qian in the Space Dao Law. Sealing barrier? Wasn't that just a joke in front of Lian Qian? Space blockade? Could it seal the Dao Law of space? The moment Yi Xian disappeared, the expression of the man with the zither on his back changed. Stop him. As soon as he finished speaking, the barrier of light in the surroundings suddenly trembled. However, right at this moment, the barrier of light suddenly split apart, and the sealing technique contained within the barrier of light had completely vanished as well. A ray of light flashed in the distant horizon. The man with the zither on his back didn't give chase. Instead, he raised his head and looked towards the horizon. In the horizon, a star had silently appeared at an unknown time, and a beam of light shot down from the star and illuminated the horizon in the distance. That just happened to be where Yi Xian was. Yi Xian was stunned when he was illuminated by the starlight. What the hell is that? He didn't dare think too much about it and raised his speed to its limits. He wanted to flee now. He wanted to flee back to the Worldwide Academy. However, the starlight was like maggots in one's bones, and it shone on him tightly. Right at this moment, a woman suddenly appeared not too far away from him. She wore white armor, had long hair tied into a ponytail, and had a sheathed saber hanging behind her waist. The woman looked at Yi Xian and Yi Xian looked at her as well. Both of their expressions were extremely calm. Right at this moment Yi Xian suddenly drew his sword and slashed. A boundless sword. Yi Xian didn't hold back. He knew that since she dared to obstruct him, then she was definitely not trash. Suddenly the woman closed her eyes. When Yi Xian's sword was around 3 m away from her, she suddenly grabbed the hilt of her saber with her right hand. Instant. The moment the saber was drawn, the surroundings suddenly slowed down, and even time seemed to have slowed down at this moment. It wasn't slow. It was the woman's saber that was swift to the extreme. Bang. Yi Xian instantly retreated. This time he retreated 1,000 feet. And as soon as he stopped, the clothes in front of his chest directly split open. The skin from his eyebrows to his abdomen directly split open, and blood splattered everywhere. Yi Xian looked up at the woman, his expression incomparably solemn. What a fast saber. This was the fastest saber he had ever seen, and this saber had almost taken his life. If it weren't for the fact that his physical body was strong enough, and if it weren't for his fast reflexes, this saber would have dismembered him. At this time the man with the zither had arrived, and Yi Xian was once again surrounded. Yi Xian wiped the blood off his face and soon his body began to recover. The man with the zither glanced at Yi Xian, then at the woman with the saber not far away. He nodded slightly. Miss Wu. Wu Xingnan. At this time Shen Tian's voice suddenly rang out in Yi Xian's mind. Divine Master Yi, don't be careless. This woman is the most monstrous genius in Wu country. She reached the Heaven's Fate realm a few years ago, and her saber path has even entered the first layer of the mortal saber realm. She is known as the most monstrous genius in Wu country in the last 10,000 years, and now she is the commander of the undead cavalry. Also, rumor has it that Li Mubai wanted to take her as a disciple, but she rejected him. She said that no one in this world is qualified to be her master. Wu Xingnan. Yi Xian looked at the woman in front of him. Although they had only exchanged one move, he had already tasted her power. Reality proved that the younger generation of the fifth dimension was not weak, it was just that Yi Xian had not met them yet. Yi Xian collected his thoughts and sent a voice transmission. Can you contact the academy and my sister? Shen Tian's replied, the Empress is being held back, and the academy is also being held back. Hearing this, Yi Xian's expression sank. He could only rely on himself. In the distance, Wu Shengnan suddenly said, I will fight him. The man with the zither on his back hesitated. Wu Shengnan looked at the man with the zither. Is there a problem? The man with the zither said in a deep voice, it's best if we kill him in one strike. Wu Shengnan ignored the zither man and looked at Yi Xian. Fight me. After saying this, she slowly walked towards Yi Xian. Her right hand was on the hilt of her saber, and she walked very slowly as if she was taking a stroll. There was not the slightest energy fluctuation around her. In the distance, Yi Xian's left thumb suddenly flicked up. The executing heaven sword flew out. Boundless sword. The sword was like lightning, disappearing in the blink of an eye. In the distance, Wu Shengnan suddenly pulled out her saber and slashed. This slash directly struck the tip of Yi Xian's sword. Bang! The executing heaven sword flew back, but at this time, Yi Xian appeared in front of Wu Shengnan. He reached out with the executing heaven sword and slashed at Wu Shengnan. Wu Shengnan raised her saber to block, but at this moment Yi Xian's executing heaven sword turned into a heavy sword, and at this moment Yi Xian's sword seed's power suddenly soared. Not only that, but the heavy sword also had a extinguished character spirit. The sword smashed down. Bang! Wu Shengnan took a step back and the space around them directly exploded. At this time, Wu Shengnan suddenly slashed forward with her saber, taking advantage of the momentum to slash at Yi Xian. Yi Xian sheathed his sword to block. Bang! Yi Xian was instantly sent flying, but the moment he was sent flying, the heavy sword in his hand suddenly disappeared and was replaced by the executing heaven sword. The executing heaven sword turned into a flying sword and slashed at Wu Shengnan. Wu Shengnan took a step forward and slashed out with her saber, then immediately sheathed it. Bang! The celestial sword was directly stopped in place, but at this time, Yi Xian suddenly appeared in front of her, another heavy sword in his hand. He gripped the heavy sword with both hands and fiercely slashed forward. This slash of the sword had the power to shatter the heavens. Yi Xian's physical strength was extremely strong to begin with, so with this slash of his sword, the surrounding space couldn't withstand it and began to crack apart. Wu Xingnan's eyebrows slightly furrowed. She suddenly pulled out her saber and slashed horizontally at Yi Xian's abdomen. She didn't defend against Yi Xian's slash because she was very confident in her own saber speed. Yi Xian also didn't retreat to defend, and instead slashed down with his saber. Just as Wu Xingnan's saber was half an inch away from Yi Xian's abdomen, a mysterious power suddenly enveloped Wu Xingnan. Sword domain. This suppression directly forced Wu Xingnan's saber to stop, and Yi Xian's sword fell. Bang! Wu Xingnan instantly retreated a few dozen meters, but Yi Xian also retreated rapidly, and his abdomen was still cut open. It wasn't deep, only an inch deep. But without the suppression of the sword domain, it wouldn't just be an inch deep, half of his body would have been cut open. In the distance, Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian with a trace of surprise in her eyes. Domain. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. He had to admit that this woman was really strong, especially her saber. It was too fast. At this time, the man with the zither suddenly said, "Miss Wu, don't forget our purpose." Wu Xingnan pondered for a moment and then said, "Take my last saber strike." The man with the zither's face sank. "Miss Wu, exalted Yuan Tian has instructed." Wu Xingnan suddenly looked at the man with the zither. "That's an instruction to your devouring spirit clan." "What, do I have to listen to your devouring spirit clan's orders?" The man with the zither's face was slightly unsightly. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly pointed angrily at the man with the zither. "Your devouring spirit clan is shameless. You don't dare to fight alone, but you won't let others fight alone. Do you think Wu Xingnan is as shameless as you?" As he spoke, he looked at Wu Xingnan. "I've long heard that Miss Wu's saber is unparalleled under the heavens. Today I, Yi Xian, am able to fight Miss Wu. Even if I die, it will be worth it. Come, Miss Wu, please make your move." Not far away, the man with the zither stared fixedly at Yi Xian. "Yi Xian, don't play any tricks. No one can save you today." Yi Xian spat at the man with the zither. "Bah! Even if I, Yi Xian, die, I will die at the hands of a true expert, not at the hands of a group of despicable villains like you." As he spoke, he looked at Wu Xingnan. "Miss Wu, please make your move. I, Yi Xian, will take your saber." Wu Xingnan sized up Yi Xian and nodded. "You've got guts. If we weren't enemies, I'd be willing to make friends with you." As she spoke, she was about to make her move, but Yi Xian suddenly said, "Miss Wu, if I take your saber, what will you do?" Hearing Wu Xingnan's words, the man with the zither's face suddenly sank. Why did they suddenly feel sympathy for each other? Hearing Yi Xian's words, Wu Xingnan frowned slightly. She hadn't thought about this problem. Yi Xian suddenly said, "Miss Wu, how about this? If I take your saber, you can't attack me again today. If I can't, I'll be buried under your saber. What do you think?" "No." The man with the zither suddenly said, "Miss Wu, you can't agree with him. He has bad intentions." Yi Xian suddenly said, "What, you don't believe in Miss Wu's strength?" The man with the zither glared at Yi Xian, but at this time Wu Xingnan suddenly said, "I know you're playing tricks, but I promise you, because killing you today is not in line with my style. If you die with my saber, everything will be over. If you don't die, I won't attack you again today." As she spoke, her right hand grasped the hilt of the long saber at her waist. "Are you ready? P.S. I want to ask for votes, but I don't know how to ask." Chapter 921. Yi Xian held the executing heaven sword in his right hand and nodded. "I'm ready." In the distance, Wu Xingnan nodded slightly. She suddenly drew her saber. The saber slashed out soundlessly, without the slightest fluctuation of energy. Fast. The core of this saber strike was speed. It was fast to the extreme. At the instant that this saber strike appeared, the entire world seemed to slow down. At the instant that Wu Xingnan drew her saber, a mysterious force suddenly appeared around 3 meters in front of Yi Xian. Sword domain. He could have used the World Prison Pagoda to resist Wu Xingnan's saber strike. He knew that Wu Xingnan was very strong, but it was absolutely impossible for her saber strike to break through the World Prison Pagoda. However, he didn't do that. Wu Xingnan had her pride, but so did he, Yi Xian. Amongst the younger generation, who did he, Yi Xian, need to fear? He feared no one. Wasn't it just a single saber strike? At the instant that the sword domain appeared, a saber energy arrived. A sharp tearing sound resounded. After this extremely fast saber strike entered Yi Xian's sword domain, its speed slowed down at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. It was forcefully suppressed by the sword domain. The saber energy grew slower and slower. However, at this moment Yi Xian's countenance had turned abnormally pale. The strength of this saber strike was too strong. Even though he'd used the sword domain to suppress this saber energy, he'd endured a great deal of force as well. When the saber energy was half an inch away from his chest, it stopped. Yi Xian raised his head to look at the distant Wu Xingnan. Wu Xingnan spoke softly, "What an impressive sword domain." Yi Xian said, "How about you take a strike from me?" Wu Shengnan nodded. All right. Yi Xian suddenly vanished. A boundless sword. In the distance, Wu Shengnan drew her saber and slashed. The sword light shattered. However, Yi Xian had vanished. The zither man's expression changed drastically when he saw this scene. He's fled. Stop him. Wu Shengnan turned her head and looked to her right. At the end of the horizon she saw Yi Xian. That was because the starlight had been firmly enveloping Yi Xian. At this distance, if she used her saber she could force Yi Xian to stop. Because Yi Xian wasn't as fast as her. However, she did not draw her saber. Wu Shengnan turned around and left. Seeing this, the zither-wielding man's face darkened. He stood in front of Wu Shengnan and said, Miss Wu, that Yi Xian is someone from the Azura Divine Kingdom. We are mortal enemies with your Wu country. Wu Shengnan calmly said, A powerful enemy deserves respect. The zither-wielding man glanced at Wu Shengnan. Does Miss Wu know how great of a price we paid to kill this man? Wu Shengnan pointed into the distance. He has already escaped to the Worldwide Academy. If you go after him now, you should still be able to make it in time. The man with the zither didn't say anything else. He turned around and chased after them. After the zither-wielding man and the others left, an old man suddenly appeared not too far away from Wu Shengnan. The old man bowed slightly and said, Your Highness. Wu Shengnan said in a light voice, I said that teacher doesn't need to be so polite in front of me. The old man shook his head. These are the rules. Without rules, nothing can be accomplished. Wu Shengnan didn't bother about this anymore. She looked up into the sky and said softly, The devouring spirit race is plotting something big. The old man hesitated for a moment and said, Your Highness deliberately let Yi Xian go? Wu Shengnan nodded. The old man smiled and said, Why? Wu Shengnan said in a light voice, Li Mubai can't kill the Empress. If I kill Yi Xian, then the Empress will surely retaliate against my Wu country. Although my Wu country isn't afraid of her, there is no need for us to do so. Because if the Empress retaliates against my Wu country, then the devouring spirit race will be the happiest. The old man nodded. This time the devouring spirit race said that their goal is that study house. But from the looks of it, their plan is far more than that. As he said this, he looked in the direction of the Worldwide Academy with a complicated look in his eyes. In the past, who dared to despise the Worldwide Academy? But now, the devouring spirit race is openly targeting that study house. Wu Shengnan said, Prosperity leads to decline. The old man nodded. Although the academy is not as good as it used to be, I think the devouring spirit race won't dare to destroy the Worldwide Academy. After all, the headmaster is still there and there is a great array in the academy. Great Slaying Array. The first array of the five-dimensional universe. Even the 6 super powerhouses of the present world wouldn't dare to say that they could withstand this slash, because it was left by the prophet. Wu Shengnan looked in the direction of the Worldwide Academy and said softly, We can't let the Shura country rise, and we can't let Yi Xian and the Worldwide Academy open that study house. But we can't let the devouring spirit race use us as a tool. Sit on top of the mountain and watch the tigers fight. The old man nodded. I understand. But, what if the devouring spirit race really destroys the academy in Yi Xian? Wu Shengnan said softly, If they can kill the Shura Empress and the headmaster and break that great array, then the ones who will die will be us. Teacher, use all the forces of our country to investigate the devouring spirit race. I want to know how many powerhouses they left behind. We must find out their true strength. The old man nodded slightly and left quietly. Wu Shengnan turned and left. The direction she was walking in was the direction of the Worldwide Academy. Yi Xian ran all the way and soon he returned to the Worldwide Academy. He could only return to the Worldwide Academy because he was too far away from Fu Wen Zone. When he returned to the Worldwide Academy, Yi Xian's face darkened. At this moment, above the academy, a middle-aged man was confronting Zhang Wenxiu. When he saw Yi Xian, Zhang Wenxiu's face darkened. It was not a good thing to see Yi Xian in the Worldwide Academy at this time. Yi Xian glanced at the middle-aged man, then looked at Zhang Wenxiu and grinned, Miss Wenxiu, I want to read. Zhang Wenxiu was expressionless. Can't you just say that you are being hunted and want to find a place to take refuge? Yi Xian, not far away, the middle-aged man looked at Yi Xian. I didn't expect you to escape. Yi Xian smiled. Disappointed? The middle-aged man shook his head and smiled. A little bit. At this time, the man with the zither and the devouring spirit race experts appeared in the sky above the Worldwide Academy. The experts of the Worldwide Academy also appeared, but they were far inferior to the devouring spirit race in terms of quality and quantity. The main reason was that some of the experts of the Worldwide Academy did not come back. In the sky, the middle-aged man looked at Zhang Wenxiu and smiled. Miss Wenxiu, we only have one goal today, and that is to kill this Yi Xian. If you don't attack, we will leave immediately after killing him. We will keep our word. Zhang Wenxiu smiled. Yuan Sheng, can't you use your brain? If you kill him, won't the Worldwide Academy be next? Can you not make me think that the devouring spirit race is a group of retards? Yi Xian suddenly gave a thumbs up. Good scolding. Good scolding, good scolding. Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian coldly. You shut up. Yi Xian quickly shut up. He could see that this woman was in a bad mood, so it was better not to provoke her. After all, he had nowhere to go now, so he could only stay in the Worldwide Academy. In the sky, the middle-aged man named Yuan Sheng suddenly smiled. Since Miss Wenxiu wants to protect this Yi Xian, then the devouring spirit race will offend you today. As his voice fell, 4 white-robed old men appeared behind him, and no one knew what they were saying. Soon, the sky suddenly darkened, and in the depths of the starry sky, 7 stars suddenly appeared. Array. Yi Xian's face changed. The devouring spirit race has a lot of arrays. As if thinking of something, Yi Xian asked, Miss Lian Qian, do you have any Tao principles related to arrays? Lian Qian said, yes. Yi Xian quickly asked, who? Lian Qian said, the 8th floor. She is very good at arrays. Half of the big arrays in the academy were completed by her. She is very powerful. Yi Xian asked, where is she now? Lian Qian said, I don't know. Yi Xian was speechless. At this time in the starry sky, 7 bright starlight beams suddenly burst out from the 7 stars. These 7 light beams fell straight down from the starry sky, and a powerful pressure directly enveloped the entire Worldwide Academy. Yi Xian's face changed. This array is stronger than I thought. Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu not far away, but Zhang Wenxiu was expressionless. Go out. Boom. In the depths of the academy below, a golden ancient book suddenly flew out. In the sky, the golden ancient book suddenly flipped open, and tiny golden ancient characters flew out ceaselessly from its pages. In an instant, these golden ancient characters formed numerous thick golden shields that blocked the sky above the Myriad Dimension Academy. At this time the starlight fell. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In the sky above the entire Myriad Dimension Academy, numerous explosions resounded incessantly, and the golden shield started to tremble violently. Gradually, the golden shield actually started to crack. Seeing this, the faces of countless Worldwide Academy experts suddenly changed. The array was about to break. At this time, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly looked at Yi Xian. Give me the Heaven Punishment Brush. Yi Xian did not hesitate and directly handed the Heaven Punishment Brush to Zhang Wenxiu. As soon as Zhang Wenxiu grasped the Heaven Punishment Brush, the golden shield in the sky exploded. At this time, 7 beams of starlight fell straight down, and Zhang Wenxiu suddenly swung the brush. Defend. Boom. An enormous black shield suddenly stretched across the sky above the entire Myriad Dimension Academy, and when the 7 rays of starlight descended onto the enormous black shield, it trembled violently before directly cracking apart. However, in the next moment, 7 rays of dazzling starlight suddenly erupted from the enormous black shield, and these 7 rays of starlight shot into the sky and shot into the depths of the starry sky before finally blasting onto the 7 stars. Rumble. The 7 stars shook violently, but they did not disappear. At this time, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly shot up into the sky, and in her hand, a lightning spear quietly condensed. In the distance, Yuan Sheng suddenly said, Stop her. As soon as he finished speaking, the man with the zither appeared in front of Zhang Wenxiu. He strummed the zither with both hands, and strands of strange energy surged like waves towards Zhang Wenxiu. A ferocious smile curled up the corners of Zhang Wenxiu's mouth. She swung her spear and a wave of lightning shook out. Bang! The strange energy vanished without a trace. At the same time, Yuan Sheng was blasted back. Zhang Wenxiu looked at the nearest star. She was about to swing her spear when the 7 stars suddenly shook violently. In the next moment, 7 beams of starlight shot out from the depths of the starry sky, and their target was Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu's expression changed when she saw this, and she swung her spear again. Rumble. Zhang Wenxiu fell from the sky, and it didn't take long for her to fall into the Worldwide Academy. Zhang Wenxiu raised her head and looked over. In the sky, the 7 stars had suddenly converged together and transformed into a star sword. At the instant this sword appeared, the entire starry sky started to seethe, and the space in the sky above the Myriad Dimension Academy instantly became illusory. It couldn't withstand the power of this sword of stars. Zhang Wenxiu's expression turned ferocious, and she was about to attack again. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly sent her a voice transmission. Let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. Zhang Wenxiu. Chapter 922. The Sword. Yi Xian seethed with excitement when he saw the stellar sword. This sword was very powerful because it contained extremely pure star power. If he could absorb it, then it would simply be a great tonic to him. Yi Xian didn't hesitate to charge forward. At this moment he'd raised his speed to its limits. Yuan Sheng seemed to have thought of something and his expression changed drastically. This isn't good. He can devour swords. Quickly withdraw the formation. Withdraw the formation. At this moment, the four white-robed old men behind Yuan Sheng suddenly recovered from their shock. Yi Xian can devour swords. The four were about to leave the formation. However, at this moment Yi Xian had already dashed up to the star sword. The sword also fell straight down and then pierced into his head. Bang! A powerful aura suddenly erupted from within Yi Xian, and the starry sky and the surroundings started seething as soon as this aura appeared. Yuan Sheng's expression became extremely unsightly when he witnessed this scene. What sort of freak is this? A sword devourer? I've never encountered such a situation. Most importantly, the stellar sword was condensed from a formation, and it was extremely formidable. Yet Yi Xian can devour it as well? Zhang Wenxiu had a slightly strange expression on her face as well. Even she was slightly fearful of the formidable energy contained within the sword. However, Yi Xian had actually directly devoured it. What a freak. Zhang Wenxiu shook her head. Needless to say, Yi Xian was very mysterious. After Yi Xian devoured the sword, a powerful strand of energy erupted from within him, and he felt like his body was on the verge of exploding. The energy contained within the sword was too terrifying. Yi Xian hurriedly gazed at Zhang Wenxiu. Help me! As soon as he finished speaking, he entered the academy, sat down cross-legged, and started devouring the energy like a madman. He had to absorb the energy or he would explode. Suddenly Yuan Sheng said, "Don't let him absorb the energy." After saying that, he directly rushed towards Yi Xian below. Next to Yi Xian, Zhang Wenxiu was expressionless. The spear in her hand suddenly turned into a bolt of lightning and flew out. Boom! Yuan Sheng was pushed back by Zhang Wenxiu's spear, and at this moment, the four old men behind Yuan Sheng suddenly appeared above Zhang Wenxiu's head. Zhang Wenxiu frowned. It's you four old farts again. She knew that these four people were array masters of the Devouring Spirit clan. They were the ones who arranged and operated the various array masters of the Devouring Spirit clan. The four white-robed old men ignored Zhang Wenxiu. They formed a series of hand seals and quickly chanted. Soon, blood-red chains appeared around Zhang Wenxiu. These chains were like a cage that locked the space around Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu's expression turned sinister as he swept his spear horizontally. Boom! A bolt of lightning suddenly erupted in the space around her, and the blood-red chains trembled. However, these blood-red chains weren't destroyed by her spear. Zhang Wenxiu's mouth curled into a sinister smile. She suddenly rushed forward and stabbed with her spear. Boom! The space in front of her exploded, but the blood-red chains didn't disappear. They locked the space around her. I'm trapped. Zhang Wenxiu's expression was gloomy. She waved her spear again. This time she didn't hold back. As soon as the spear was swung, countless tiny cracks appeared on the blood-red chains. At this moment, one of the white-robed old men suddenly looked at Yuan Sheng who was nearby. Kill Yi Xian first. Kill Yi Xian. Yuan Sheng and the man with the zither charged directly at Yi Xian. This chapter is not over, please continue to the next page. The experts of the Myriad Dimension Academy charged out successively as well. Amongst them, Lin Xiaoshu directly stood in front of the man with the zither. He flipped open an ancient book and muttered a few words, and then a formidable force suddenly swept out from the ancient book. The man with the zither didn't dare to be careless. He quickly took out his zither and began to play with it. Rumble. A series of explosions rang out in the sky. Yuan Sheng charged towards Yi Xian. At this moment, no one in the Worldwide Academy could stop him. Just as he was about 5 feet away from Yi Xian, a Xiaota suddenly flew out from between Yi Xian's eyebrows. The Xiaota charged directly towards Yuan Sheng. Yuan Sheng's expression changed and he raised his arm to block it. Boom! Yuan Sheng was instantly pushed back. When Yuan Sheng stopped, he frowned. This Xiaota's power had exceeded his expectations. In the sky, the Xiaota trembled. Yuan Sheng looked at the Xiaota with a trace of seriousness in his eyes. At this moment, an old man in a white robe suddenly roared, "Don't waste time. We can't trap her for long. Yuan Sheng withdrew his thoughts and looked up into the sky. Restrain the pagoda. As soon as he finished speaking, an old man in linen suddenly appeared in the sky. The old man suddenly slammed his fist towards the World Prison Pagoda. The World Prison Pagoda didn't dodge. Instead, it collided directly with the old man. At this moment, Yuan Sheng stomped his right foot and transformed into a black ray of light that charged towards Yi Xian. I'll kill Yi Xian first. In the distance, Yi Xian suddenly opened his eyes. A moment later, he drew the executing heaven sword and slashed forward. Boom. This slash caused the space in front of him to explode, and Yuan Sheng instantly retreated hundreds of feet away. Yi Xian's right hand gripped the executing heaven sword tightly. Around him, a powerful aura constantly vibrated in all directions. Everywhere this aura passed, the space fluctuated violently like boiling water. Yuan Sheng looked at Yi Xian and narrowed his eyes. How did you suddenly become so strong? Yi Xian took a deep breath. At this moment he felt that his body was filled with endless power. He knew that this was brought about by the astral sword. He had to absorb this power. Otherwise it would slowly disappear. Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu on the other side. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu was still trapped. Yi Xian suddenly vanished. At the instant that Yi Xian vanished, Yuan Sheng vanished as well. Obviously he didn't want Yi Xian to help Zhang Wenxiu. Indeed, if Zhang Wenxiu were to escape, then no ordinary person would be able to stop her. Her strength was merely inferior to the 6 great experts. When he saw Yuan Sheng charging over, Yi Xian slashed with his sword. The boundless sword. The executing heaven sword had the word, exterminate, on it. When the sword slashed down, Yuan Sheng's expression suddenly changed. He suddenly clasped his hands together and all the spiritual energy within a radius of 10,000 feet was instantly sucked dry. Then, a spiritual energy shield quietly condensed in his hands. Yi Xian's sword slashed down. Bang! The spirit energy shield shook violently, and then both of them retreated explosively. As they retreated, the executing heaven sword in Yi Xian's hand suddenly transformed into a ray of light that shot forward. In the distance, Yuan Sheng's lips curled into a ferocious smile. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out. Rumble. As he punched out, a powerful spiritual chi fist print swept out from his fist. Bang! The spirit energy fist and Yi Xian's ray of light exploded at the same time. However, Yi Xian had already rushed to where Zhang Wenxiu was. With a wave of his right hand, the executing heaven sword flew into his hand. In the next moment he held the sword and slashed forward. At the instant that Yi Xian attacked with his sword, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly attacked with his spear. The spear was like a bolt of lightning. If this chapter is not complete, please continue to the next page. Inside and outside. Bang! The spear stabbed out and the sword fell. The iron chains that bound Zhang Wenxiu suddenly trembled and then exploded. Zhang Wenxiu had escaped. Yi Xian hurriedly said, "Miss Wenxiu, please block it for me for an hour." With that, he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to devour the energy in his body. Zhang Wenxiu glanced at Yi Xian. "Can I not block it?" Yi Xian was speechless. Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at Yuan Sheng. "Do you still want to fight?" Yuan Sheng was silent. At this moment, a man suddenly appeared in front of Yuan Sheng. Seeing this man, Zhang Wenxiu's eyes narrowed. Very strong. Although it was just a glance, she could feel that this man's strength was not inferior to hers. The man smiled. "I'm Yuan Ji of the Devouring Spirit Clan. Miss Wenxiu, for the sake of the Prophet, I can give you one last chance. If you don't care about this, I can promise you that we will only target Yi Xian today. We won't touch a single person of the Worldwide Academy." Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at Yi Xian. "Did you hear that? They are targeting you." Yi Xian's face darkened. This woman can't be tempted, can she? At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu looked at the man and smiled. "First, my Worldwide Academy is now in an alliance with Yi Xian, the Shura Empress, and Fu Wenzong. If I give up on Yi Xian today, Fu Wenzong and the Shura Empress won't let my Worldwide Academy off. Second, Yi Xian has the key and that study is in my academy. If you kill Yi Xian, who will be your next target? Even a pig's brain knows that your next target is my Worldwide Academy. If I give up on him now, it's the same as cutting off an arm. Do you think I'm stupid?" Yuan Ji smiled. "Miss Wenxiu, we don't have to be enemies, do we?" Zhang Wenxiu smiled. "I understand. If we don't want to be enemies, there's only one way. That is to give up the worldwide study, right?" Yuan Ji smiled. "Miss Wenxiu is a smart person. You should know that the Worldwide Academy isn't the Worldwide Academy it used to be. You don't have the ability to protect that study now. Zhang Wenxiu smiled. That study was left by teacher. Even if all the people in the worldwide academy die, we won't hand it over to beg for a living. Yuan Ji was silent for a moment and then nodded. If that's the case, then there's nothing to talk about. Then he looked at Yi Xian, who was not far away. My devouring spirit clan has been planning to kill him for a long time. If we can't kill him today, it will be a great loss for us. So he must die today. As soon as he finished speaking, 4 black-robed old men suddenly appeared behind him. These 4 old men were covered in black robes, and their faces couldn't be seen. These 4 people were all at the peak of the Heaven Secret Realm, and Zhang Wenxiu was also at the peak of the Heaven Secret Realm. Of course, the Heaven Secret Realm was also divided into the strong and the weak, and the strong and the weak depended on who could enter the higher dimensional space. However, the aura of these 4 black-robed men was not any weaker than Zhang Wenxiu. On the side, Zhang Wenxiu said softly, "Are we going to do it for real?" She knew that a big clan like the Devouring Spirit clan had a deep foundation. Now, the Worldwide Academy couldn't compete with them. At this time, Yuan Ji suddenly smiled. "Miss Wenxiu, let me see how much your Worldwide Academy is willing to pay to protect Yi Xian." Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yuan Ji. "You're sure that I won't open that big array, right?" Yuan Ji looked at Zhang Wenxiu and said with a smile, "If you open it, I will die. However, I can guarantee you that your academy won't live for more than 3 days, even if your headmaster comes back. Miss Wenxiu, do you dare to open that big array? Do you? P.S. It's winter recently. Our chickens only crow at 8 o'clock. I've been getting up late these 2 days." End of this chapter. Chapter 923. Zhang Wenxiu remained silent. The formation was the Worldwide Academy's last trump card. Once it was activated, the Worldwide Academy would lose its last trump card. At that time, the Worldwide Academy would be in even more danger. Should it be used? Of course not. At least, it couldn't be used against a person like Yuan Ji. A person like him wasn't worthy of the Worldwide Academy activating this formation. How could the Worldwide Academy resist Yuan Ji and the others if they didn't use this formation? Apart from Yuan Ji, there were 4 white-robed old men and 4 black-robed old men in the field. The 4 white-robed old men were in charge of the formation, and although the 4 black-robed old men did not make a move, their auras were not any weaker than hers. Of course, if it was a one-on-one battle, she was confident that she could kill any one of them. The problem was that it wasn't the time for a one-on-one battle. Besides these people, there were some experts from the Devouring Soul clan above the Worldwide Academy. Some of them were from the Devouring Soul clan and some weren't. How should she fight? Zhang Wenxiu remained silent. At this moment she was in a dilemma. Suddenly Yuan Ji smiled and said, "Attack." As soon as he finished speaking, the 4 white-robed old men behind him suddenly formed seals. In next to no time, the space in the surroundings started trembling, and then the spirit energy in the surroundings suddenly converged towards Zhang Wenxiu like a tidal wave. Obviously they wanted to hold Zhang Wenxiu back. Zhang Wenxiu clenched her right hand slowly, and her face was extremely gloomy. The Worldwide Academy had never been humiliated like this. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly roared angrily. Her entire body became illusory, and countless lightning bolts surged around her like volcanic eruptions. At the same time, with her as the center, numerous spear shadows shot out in all directions. Seeing this, the expression of the white-robed old man changed. "All of you attack quickly. We can hold him back for at most half an hour." "Half an hour?" Yuan Ji nodded slightly. "That's enough." As he spoke, he looked at the 4 black-robed old men, and the 4 black-robed old men looked at Yi Xian. A moment later, the 4 of them suddenly disappeared, and when they reappeared, they were in front of Yi Xian. 4 super experts had joined forces. Obviously, they didn't want to give Yi Xian any chance. At this moment, Yi Xian naturally did not dare to devour anymore. He suddenly opened his eyes, and a small pagoda suddenly flew out from between his eyebrows. The prison pagoda. Bang! An explosion resounded like a clap of thunder. Then Yi Xian and the tower retreated rapidly. Although the World Prison Pagoda had withstood the joint attack of the 4 people, Yi Xian had still eaten most of the force. When he stopped, he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood essence. That attack just now had ruptured all his internal organs. Right at this moment, the 4 black-robed old men suddenly vanished. In the distance, Yi Xian's pupils suddenly shrank. At this moment he did not dare to hold back at all. He suddenly took out a golden pill and swallowed it. Godly Shumi Dan. As soon as this pill was consumed, a powerful force suddenly gathered in Yi Xian's body. At this moment he felt as if his body was about to combust. Coupled with the fact that he had yet to fully absorb the power of the stars, Yi Xian felt like his body was about to explode. At that moment he couldn't care less about his own body as he stabbed out with his sword. The space in front of him suddenly split open. In the next moment Yi Xian vanished from where he stood, and the four black-robed old men missed their target. In the distance Ji Yuan was stunned. In the next moment his expression changed drastically. Four-dimensional spaces. Retreat. As soon as he finished speaking, a beam of sword light suddenly appeared in front of one of the black-robed old men. The black-robed old man's pupils suddenly constricted. This was completely out of his expectations. However, he did not choose to sit still and wait for death. The moment this beam of sword light appeared, he clasped his hands together and a powerful force swept out from his body. Boom. As Yi Xian's sword slashed down, the force released by the black-robed old man disappeared without a trace. The sword fell straight on the black-robed old man's head. The black-robed old man's body was directly split by Yi Xian's sword. Just as his soul was about to escape, Yi Xian's soul-calming sword directly stabbed into his body. In the blink of an eye, the black-robed old man's soul was completely absorbed. As for the remaining three black-robed old men, they had already retreated hundreds of feet away. At this moment, the three of them had extremely grave expressions. Ji Yuan's face was also full of disbelief as he stared at Yi Xian. How is this possible? How is it possible that you have four-dimensional spaces? Countless experts in the surroundings were also shocked. Four-dimensional spaces. At present, even Zhang Wenxiu could not enter that space. Only powerhouses like Yi Ling could enter that space. And what realm was Yi Xian at? He was only at the life and death realm. A life and death realm expert had actually entered a four-dimensional space. What kind of joke was this? In the distance, Yi Xian held the executing heaven sword in his right hand. His face was very pale, and his hands hidden in his sleeves were trembling. Although he had obtained Sumeru power by relying on the Sumeru pill and then used it to enter the four-dimensional space, with his current strength and physical body, he was not qualified to enter that kind of space, but he had forced his way in. There was a price to pay for forcing his way in. Right now, he felt as if his entire body had been sucked dry. However, he did not dare to show it. After swallowing the spring of life, his expression became much better. He looked at Ji Yuan in the distance and smiled. Surprised? Yuan Ji stared at Yi Xian. How did you do it? Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. Do you want to know my true identity? True identity? Yuan Ji frowned slightly. You have another identity? Yi Xian smiled. What? Has your devouring spirit clan not investigated me? Yuan Ji was silent. They had naturally investigated Yi Xian. Coming from the four-dimensional universe, he had only started cultivating the sword at the age of 18, but his sword Dao had progressed rapidly. Moreover, there seemed to be a mysterious female swordsman behind him. As for this mysterious female swordsman, they did not have much information about her, nor did they know how strong she was. In short, this Yi Xian was indeed a bit mysterious, especially the relationship between Yi Xian and Shura Empress. They could not understand the relationship between the two. At this moment, seeing that Yi Xian could enter the four-dimensional space, Yuan Ji was really shocked. The four-dimensional space. That kind of unknown space even he couldn't enter. At this moment, Yi Xian said again, actually my true identity is... At this moment, a white-robed old man not far away suddenly said, he is stalling for time. Stalling for time. Yuan Ji suddenly came to a realization. This Yi Xian's strength could not reach Yi Ling's level. Moreover, if Yi Xian really had that kind of strength, then he would have already swept away everything. Why would he be so long-winded here? There was only one explanation. Yi Xian must have used some secret method to forcibly enter that space. Backlash. At this moment, Yi Xian must be suffering from the backlash. Yuan Ji looked at Yi Xian and said, attack. The remaining three black-robed old men immediately disappeared. At this moment, Yi Xian once again disappeared from where he was standing. Seeing this scene, the expressions of the three black-robed old men and Yuan Ji changed greatly. The three black-robed old men hurriedly retreated. It must be known that once Yi Xian entered the four-dimensional space, he would absolutely suppress them. No one dared to resist Yi Xian's sword in the four-dimensional space. However, when they retreated, they found that Yi Xian did not appear. Where was Yi Xian? The three old men looked at each other. It was as if Yi Xian had evaporated into thin air. At this moment, a ray of sword light suddenly appeared in the area where Zhang Wenxiu was. The three black-robed old men and Yuan Ji immediately turned to look at where Zhang Wenxiu was. At this moment, a ray of sword light appeared, and one of the white-robed old men was slashed back. As soon as this white-robed old man was slashed back, the formation maintained by the four of them instantly shattered, and Zhang Wenxiu rushed out. As soon as he rushed out, Zhang Wenxiu charged at one of the white-robed old men. At this moment Zhang Wenxiu was like a madman. Anger. She was really angry. When had the Worldwide Academy been bullied like this? In his rage, Zhang Wenxiu's strength was extraordinary. Wherever his spear passed, the space was turned into nothingness. The expression of the white-robed old man who was targeted by Zhang Wenxiu changed drastically, and he pressed his palms together. Spirit gathering. As soon as he spoke, the spiritual energy around him suddenly converged towards him and formed a thick spiritual energy wall in front of him. A ferocious expression appeared on the corners of Zhang Wenxiu's mouth. Die. As soon as she finished speaking, the spear in her hand suddenly stabbed forward, and with this stab, her lightning spear directly exploded. Bang. The spiritual energy wall turned into ashes. The white-robed old man was shocked, and he was about to retreat when a spear suddenly pierced through his forehead at an extremely fast speed. The white-robed old man's eyes opened wide, and his body stiffened. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu appeared in front of the white-robed old man, and she suddenly pulled out her spear. Blood splattered. After pulling out her spear, Zhang Wenxiu swept it horizontally towards the white-robed old man's head. Bang! The white-robed old man's head was sent flying, and fresh blood sprayed out like a fountain. Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at Yi Xian, and at this moment Yi Xian's face was very pale. At this moment, anyone could see that he was in a bad situation. Yi Xian had no other choice. He knew that he couldn't drag this on any longer, and he could only fight to free Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. Can you still fight? Yi Xian shook his head. I can't. Zhang Wenxiu asked, how long do you need? Yi Xian said in a low voice, 1 hour. Zhang Wenxiu nodded. I'll buy you 1 hour. Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu. Are you sure? Zhang Wenxiu shook her head. I'm not sure. Yi Xian was speechless. Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at Yuan Ji and the others and said softly, hurry up and heal your wounds, leave the rest to me. Yi Xian nodded and he didn't think any further. He sat down cross-legged and began to heal his wounds. Zhang Wenxiu opened her palm, and a spear suddenly appeared in her hand. Zhang Wenxiu slowly closed her eyes. Teacher, I'm going back on my word. As soon as she finished speaking, her eyes opened abruptly. 2 rays of black light suddenly shot out from Zhang Wenxiu's eyes, and at the same time, a black aura suddenly swept out from Zhang Wenxiu's body. In the distance, Yuan Ji's expression changed. Demonization. This is the power of the bloodline. You're a descendant of the ancient demons. Chapter 924. The Ancient Devil Clan. This was a clan that was almost forgotten by people because this clan had disappeared a long time ago. It was a clan that existed even before the Devouring Spirit clan existed. Could be said that very few people in the 5th dimension knew about this clan. It just so happened that the Devouring Spirit clan knew about it, because the Ancient Devil clan existed before them, and the Devouring Spirit clan had once dispatched numerous experts to search for the ruins of this clan. Devils. It was an ancient and mysterious clan. After many years of investigation, they'd felt that this clan had vanished completely. However, Yuan Ji hadn't imagined that Zhang Wenxiu was actually a member of the Ancient Devil clan. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu held a black spear in her hand, her golden hair had turned pitch black, and her entire body emanated monstrous devil energy. Moreover, she seemed like a devil god that had descended into the world. Yuan Ji stared fixedly at Zhang Wenxiu, and his eyes were extremely solemn. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly disappeared. The sound of something tearing apart resounded. Everyone watched as the space in front of Yuan Ji exploded apart inch by inch, and then a black spear stabbed out from within the shattered space towards Yuan Ji. Yuan Ji slowly clenched his right fist, and then a strand of powerful force converged in his fist. A ferocious expression appeared on his face as he smashed his fist forward when the spear arrived in front of him. Bang! The space they resided in was instantly obliterated while Yuan Ji was instantly blasted flying. At the instant that his figure was blasted flying, Zhang Wenxiu's spear stabbed into his fist, and then it pierced through his entire right arm. At the same time, the powerful force of the collision blasted Yuan Ji over 1 kilometer away. He'd been defeated with a single move. The expressions of everyone here changed drastically when they witnessed this scene. How did Zhang Wenxiu suddenly become so strong? Yuan Ji gazed at his right hand, and his pupils constricted when he saw it. He was astounded to the extreme. At this moment, his entire arm and body were actually being corroded at an extremely swift speed. Yuan Ji looked up at Zhang Wenxiu, who stood in the distance. Meanwhile, Zhang Wenxiu waved her right hand, and a black spear suddenly appeared in her grasp. She slowly closed her eyes, and the blood in her entire body was boiling. If one looked closely, one would notice that the blood in her entire body wasn't red, but dark black. The bloodline of the devil race. She was currently using the bloodline of the devil race, the third-ranked bloodline in the five-dimensional universe. It was only inferior to the bloodline of the Heavenly Dragon clan and the legendary Mortal bloodline. In fact, even the experts in the academy were slightly shocked because they didn't expect Zhang Wenxiu to have such a powerful bloodline. Besides the prophet, no one else knew about Zhang Wenxiu's true origins. All they knew was that the prophet had brought her here. When she just arrived at the academy, many people didn't like her because she was too arrogant and fought at the slightest disagreement. Moreover, she just so happened to be extremely strong, and besides the master, no one else in the academy was a match for her. Even though Zhang Wenxiu was like a little devil who liked to compete with others, she was extremely knowledgeable in the academy, and she was merely inferior to the master. So, everyone in the academy both hated and respected her. Zhang Wenxiu held the spear tightly in her right hand. At this moment, the bloodline throughout her entire body was boiling like lava, and the strength she emanated was growing stronger and stronger. After she'd activated her bloodline, her strength wasn't inferior to the 6 great experts of the five-dimensional universe. Right at this moment, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly opened her eyes, and she gazed at Yuan Ji, who was still being corroded. The latter's expression changed drastically, and he retreated explosively. A ray of black light flashed, and then Yuan Ji stopped on the spot. At this moment, his head had vanished, and there was a figure behind his body. This chapter isn't finished. Please continue to the next page. Zhang Wenxiu. A bloody head was stabbed into the black spear in Zhang Wenxiu's hand. It was Yuan Ji's head. Instant annihilation. The expressions of the experts of the Devouring Spirit clan changed drastically when they witnessed this scene. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu's strength was exceedingly formidable. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly turned to look at the 3 black-robed old men. At this moment, they were the strongest amongst the 3 black-robed old men. Their expressions instantly changed when they saw Zhang Wenxiu look over. At this moment, they had no choice but to fear Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly vanished, and so did the 3 black-robed old men. Rumble. An explosion suddenly resounded in the sky above the Worldwide Academy, and then the 3 black-robed old men were blasted back repeatedly. 1 against 3. Moreover, it was a direct suppression. The 3 black-robed old men could only passively defend themselves. On the ground below, Yi Xian healed himself while absorbing the energy from the stellar sword, and Xiao Ta stood on guard by his side. Xiao Ta was extremely strong now, and ordinary people weren't a match for him. Meanwhile, the man with the zither who was fighting Lin Xiaoshu suddenly stopped. He glanced at the surroundings and then his gaze descended onto Yi Xian in the end. However, Lin Xiaoshu stood in front of him. The man with the zither gazed at Lin Xiaoshu. Lin Xiaoshu, according to my knowledge, Yi Xian has killed many members of your academy. Lin Xiaoshu fell silent. The man with the zither continued, you. Lin Xiaoshu suddenly said, I don't like him, but he can't die today. The man with the zither's face darkened, and he turned to look at the 3 black-robed old men not far away. When he saw the 3 black-robed old men being crushed by Zhang Wenxiu, his expression became even more unsightly. If this continued, it was highly likely that Zhang Wenxiu would kill the 3 black-robed old men. Moreover, the battle had dragged on for a long time. If Li Mubai failed to restrain the Shura Empress, the situation would become even more serious. As if thinking of something, the man with the zither suddenly looked up at the sky. Deep in the clouds stood a woman. This woman was Wu Xingnan from the Wu Kingdom. The man with the zither looked at Wu Xingnan. Miss Wu, if we don't kill Yi Xian today, we won't have such a good opportunity in the future. Wu Xingnan said calmly, as far as I know, the Devouring Spirit clan's Yuan Tian Supreme is no weaker than the 6 great masters. Why don't you let him attack? Yuan Tian Supreme. The man with the zither's face darkened. This time, the Devouring Spirit clan had not used their full strength to kill Yi Xian. The reason why they had waited until Yi Xian had left the Worldwide Academy was because they were afraid of the Worldwide Academy. After all, the Worldwide Academy not only had the teacher, but it also had a super array. They did not want to fight to the death with the Worldwide Academy. However, they had not expected that Yi Xian would escape back to the academy. This was something they had not expected. If the Devouring Spirit clan wanted to destroy the academy, they would have to face the teacher and the legendary array. At this moment, the Devouring Spirit clan did not want to fight to the death with the worldwide academy. Even if they won, the price would be great. The best choice was to let Wu Xingnan from the Wu Kingdom and the Divine Burial Cavalry behind her attack. Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian and Zhang Wenxiu, who had activated the power of bloodline, and turned to leave. If she attacked, together with the Divine Burial Cavalry of the Wu Kingdom, she had a high chance of killing Yi Xian. Yi Xian could not stop her and the Divine Burial Cavalry. However, why did she attack? If she were to make a move and force the Myriad Dimension Academy into a hopeless situation, then once the Myriad Dimension Academy activated the Grand Formation or that master suddenly appeared, then at that time she, the God Burial Cavaliers, and the experts of the Martial Kingdom would absolutely be annihilated. Although the current situation was. This chapter is not finished, please continue to the next page. The Worldwide Academy was not as good as it was in the past, but who dared to look down on it? Just one headmaster was enough to make any force fear him. Wu Xingnan wasn't stupid. She knew that if she made a move, she would become a dowry for the Devouring Spirit clan. Moreover, if she killed Yi Xian, the Shura Empress would retaliate crazily. Once such a powerhouse retaliated, who could withstand it? Wu Xingnan decisively chose to leave. Because she knew that if she killed Yi Xian now, the price would be very high. Seeing Wu Xingnan leave, the Zither man's expression became ugly. Miss Wu, is your Wu Kingdom going to go back on your word? Wu Xingnan suddenly stopped and turned to look at the Zither man. Your Devouring Spirit clan has so many experts, why don't you attack? The Zither man said angrily, my Devouring Spirit clan has not sent enough experts? Wu Xingnan looked at the Zither man. You want my Wu Kingdom to face the teacher and the array, and then your Devouring Spirit clan can sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor, right? The Zither man said in a low voice. Miss Wu, Wu Xingnan suddenly said, how about this, your Devouring Spirit clan will send people to force them out of the array. As for the teacher, my Wu Kingdom will deal with him. What do you think? The Zither man's expression became ugly. Miss Wu, that array is the greatest array in the world. Aren't you sending my Devouring Spirit clan to our deaths? Wu Xingnan retorted, then aren't you sending me to my death by asking me to act? The Zither man wanted to say something, but Wu Xingnan suddenly said, one more word and I will kill you. With that she turned and left. At this moment, a black-robed old man in the distance was swept away by Zhang Wenxiu's spear. In the process of flying, a long spear instantly pierced his forehead. Blood splattered. Seeing this scene, the Zither man's expression changed. He looked up at the clouds in the sky. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the clouds, retreat. Retreat. Obviously, the Devouring Spirit clan did not want to fight with the Worldwide Academy. Because the teacher had not appeared yet. Would the teacher not care about the academy? The Devouring Spirit clan did not dare to gamble. Of course, they did not expect that Zhang Wenxiu would be so bold as to protect Yi Xian at all costs. This was completely unexpected. If not for the Worldwide Academy's protection, they could have killed Yi Xian. Soon, the Zither man and the other Devouring Spirit clan experts retreated. Zhang Wenxiu did not chase after them because she was also a little abnormal at this moment. After the Devouring Spirit clan experts retreated, Zhang Wenxiu looked up at the sky. Devouring Spirit clan, I Zhang Wenxiu will remember today's debt. Above the clouds, a chuckle sounded. The Devouring Spirit clan will wait for you to settle the score. Zhang Wenxiu looked coldly at the sky, then turned around and came in front of Yi Xian. Before Yi Xian could react, she grabbed his shoulder and disappeared. The next moment, Zhang Wenxiu came to a secret room with Yi Xian. Zhang Wenxiu spread out her right hand and Xiao Ta appeared in her hand. She gently wiped her left hand, and Xiao Ta was directly sent to another space. Yi Xian was a little puzzled. At this time Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. Her clothes suddenly turned to ashes, and she was naked. Yi Xian was completely stunned. Was she going to force herself on him? P.S. I recommend a very good urban novel, also published by Vertical and Horizontal, called Great Country's Famous Chef. Those who like urban novels must read it, don't miss it. I swear, if I update it after 8 o'clock tomorrow, my testicles will be 10 centimeters shorter. Live broadcast handstand diarrhea, I will do it. End of this chapter. Chapter 925. Needless to say, Yi Xian was dumbfounded at this moment. Why did Zhang Wenxiu take off her clothes at the slightest provocation? What was she trying to do? Yi Xian glanced at Zhang Wenxiu's beautiful body. He had to admit that Zhang Wenxiu was really beautiful, especially when she was naked. As if sensing Zhang Wenxiu's gaze, Yi Xian quickly retracted his gaze and said seriously, "Miss Wenxiu, I'm not a casual person. Don't be like this, I'm really not that kind of person." As he said that, he was already ready to take off his clothes. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly closed her eyes slowly, her voice trembling, "If you talk nonsense again, I'll kill you right now." Yi Xian was speechless. "What do you mean by talking nonsense? You're the one who took off your clothes first. Did I think wrongly?" At this time, Zhang Wenxiu said again, "My bloodline is the bloodline of the ancient demon clan, it's extremely domineering. Back then, when Master was around, he could use his power to suppress me, but now, no one can suppress my bloodline." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "You don't have to suppress it." Zhang Wenxiu opened her eyes and looked at Yi Xian, "If I don't suppress it, my blood will fill me to death. Because of its strength, I can't subdue it yet, so I can only suppress it." Hearing this, Yi Xian understood. This Zhang Wenxiu's bloodline should be similar to his bloodline, they were both uncontrollable existences. Yi Xian collected his thoughts and then said seriously, "Miss Wenxiu, you want us to balance yin and yang?" Zhang Wenxiu suddenly slapped Yi Xian's head. Smack. What a loud sound. Yi Xian was speechless. "Isn't it balance yin and yang?" Zhang Wenxiu glared at Yi Xian. "Do you believe that I'll cut you up later?" Yi Xian immediately felt a chill in his crotch. Needless to say, this woman would definitely dare to do that. Yi Xian said seriously, "Miss Wenxiu, just tell me what you want to do." Zhang Wenxiu took a deep breath to calm the rage in her heart, and then she said, "My blood is already boiling. There's only a single way to suppress them, and it's to find a bloodline that's even stronger than them to forcefully suppress them." Yi Xian frowned. "Miss Wenxiu, are you saying that my bloodline is stronger than yours?" Zhang Wenxiu nodded. "I don't know the origin of your bloodline, but I can feel that your bloodline is stronger than mine. So, I need your bloodline to suppress mine." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "If I activate my bloodline, I won't be able to control it. It'll be very dangerous." Zhang Wenxiu shook his head. "You don't need to activate it, you just need to borrow it." Yi Xian was about to speak when he noticed a faint flame suddenly appearing on Zhang Wenxiu's body. The faint flame enveloped Zhang Wenxiu's entire body, and under the cover of the flame, Zhang Wenxiu's body seemed to be burning. It was a terrifying sight. At this moment, he understood why Zhang Wenxiu had to take off her clothes. The flame was too strong. Even if she did not take off her clothes, she would still be burned to ashes. Yi Xian did not waste his breath and immediately said, "What do I need to do?" Zhang Wenxiu suddenly grabbed Yi Xian's hand, and her wrist with Yi Xian's suddenly split open. The next moment, Yi Xian's blood flowed into her body through her hand. Boom. The moment Yi Xian's blood entered Zhang Wenxiu's body, a strong force suddenly erupted from Zhang Wenxiu's body, and Zhang Wenxiu's black hair began to gradually turn red. She was affected by Yi Xian's bloodline. Zhang Wenxiu slowly closed her eyes. She had to admit that Yi Xian's bloodline was too terrifying. Even she was unable to completely resist that ruthless aura and murderous intent. When Yi Xian's blood entered Zhang Wenxiu's body, the demonic bloodline in her body seemed to be in danger, and it began to resist wildly, wanting to devour Yi Xian's blood. At this moment, Yi Xian's blood boiled. Boom. A blood-red glow directly engulfed Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu frowned, and at this moment, her body began to tremble violently. Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Miss Wenxiu?" Zhang Wenxiu said, "I need more blood." Yi Xian nodded, and he held Zhang Wenxiu's hand. Soon, the blood in his body began to surge towards Zhang Wenxiu, and his face also became pale at this moment. However, at this moment he could not care so much. He had to do his best to suppress Zhang Wenxiu's bloodline. As more and more blood entered, the demonic bloodline in Zhang Wenxiu's body suddenly became violent. Danger. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu's brows furrowed even deeper, and her entire face gradually contorted, as if she was suffering a great deal of pain. Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Miss Wenxiu, are you all right?" Zhang Wenxiu did not answer, and her whole body was trembling. Yi Xian said, "Do you want me to withdraw my blood?" Zhang Wenxiu shook her head and said in a trembling voice, "My bloodline is already afraid I can hold on for a while." Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu's body. At this moment, half of her body was black and the other half was red. However, the red side was slowly spreading to the black side. It was beginning to suppress. In fact, this was his blood entering Zhang Wenxiu's body. If Zhang Wenxiu's blood entered his body, it would be instantly suppressed. After all, his blood and Zhang Wenxiu's body had 0 degree of fusion. Therefore, in Zhang Wenxiu's body, his blood could not cause any suppression to Zhang Wenxiu's blood. However, it was still fine because Zhang Wenxiu's demonic bloodline was obviously not as strong as Yi Xian's bloodline. Zhang Wenxiu's body gradually turned blood red. However, Zhang Wenxiu was feeling a little uncomfortable. This was because at this moment she was suffering from the backlash of the two bloodlines. Yi Xian quickly took out the spring of life and fed it to Zhang Wenxiu. After drinking the spring of life, Zhang Wenxiu's complexion instantly looked better. Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Miss Wenxiu, are you all right?" Zhang Wenxiu did not reply. She grabbed Yi Xian's arm tightly with both hands, and her whole body was still trembling. Boom. At this moment, the demonic bloodline in Zhang Wenxiu's body suddenly erupted. Seeing this, Yi Xian's expression changed. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu said in a trembling voice, "It's making its last gamble." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Can you still hold on?" Just as Zhang Wenxiu was about to speak, a blood-red light suddenly swept out from her body. Obviously, Yi Xian's blood had begun to retaliate as well. As Yi Xian's blood retaliated, Zhang Wenxiu's entire face immediately contorted. Bang! Just as Yi Xian was about to speak, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly hugged him tightly and said in a trembling voice, "What kind of bloodline is this? Why is it so strong that it can actually corrode my mind?" Yi Xian shook his head. "I don't know what kind of bloodline it is." In fact, he did not know much about his own bloodline. In any case, this bloodline was extremely powerful. It was so powerful that sometimes, it almost killed him. Yi Xian collected his thoughts. He carried Zhang Wenxiu and placed her on the wooden bed at the side. He took out a robe and covered Zhang Wenxiu. However, as soon as the robe was covered, it turned into ashes. Yi Xian frowned. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly said, "What's wrong? Don't you look good?" Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu was staring at him. One of her eyes was black and the other was red. Obviously, the demonic bloodline had not been completely suppressed. Yi Xian said softly, "Miss Wenxiu has the beauty of a celestial being. How can it not be beautiful?" Zhang Wenxiu looked straight at Yi Xian and clenched her fists tightly. "Then don't you have any thoughts?" Yi Xian said, "Yes." Facing such a beautiful woman, it was impossible to say that he had no thoughts at all. Moreover, the woman in front of him was currently naked. Not only was Zhang Wenxiu hot-tempered, but her beauty was also peerless. Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian without saying a word. Yi Xian smiled, "Miss Wenxiu, just because you have some wild thoughts doesn't mean you have to do anything. Moreover, it was because of me that you activated your devil bloodline. At this moment I am a little daydreaming about you. This is not something I can control because this is human nature. Moreover, Lady Wenxiu is indeed very beautiful. Not to mention me, I believe that no man in this world can ignore Lady Wenxiu's beauty. However, if I take advantage of you now, then I am worse than a beast." This was his heartfelt words. He had always believed that people could be shameless and flirtatious, but they could not be vulgar and have no bottom line. Zhang Wenxiu glanced at Yi Xian, then slowly closed her eyes. At this moment, her clenched fists also slowly relaxed. The blood-red glow around Zhang Wenxiu's body increased. At this time, Yi Xian took out some spring of life and fed it to Zhang Wenxiu. About half an hour later, the demonic bloodline in Zhang Wenxiu's body gradually subsided. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were bloodshot. At this moment, Yi Xian's demonic bloodline was in her body. Yi Xian was shocked. Zhang Wenxiu said with a trembling voice, "Take back the blood." Yi Xian nodded quickly. He placed his right hand on Zhang Wenxiu's wrist. Soon, his blood began to return to his body, and he suddenly felt terrible. Yi Xian hurriedly suppressed his bloodline. He did not dare to completely activate his bloodline. When all the blood returned to Yi Xian's body, Zhang Wenxiu immediately returned to normal. However, Yi Xian was a little abnormal. Zhang Wenxiu quickly placed her right hand on Yi Xian's shoulder. A powerful force surged from her hand, and she began to help Yi Xian suppress the power of his bloodline. However, she found that her strength was not enough to suppress Yi Xian's bloodline at all. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly frowned. His body was turning red at an extremely fast speed, and the demonic bloodline in his body began to become restless. A restless bloodline. Zhang Wenxiu's face darkened when she saw this. She was about to finish speaking when Yi Xian suddenly roared and hugged Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu's expression changed drastically. She was about to resist, but she was shocked to find that she was extremely weak at this moment. She did not have the strength to resist Yi Xian at all. In a moment of desperation, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly grabbed a certain part of Yi Xian's body and said fiercely, If you dare to act recklessly, I'll castrate you. However, as soon as she touched him, Yi Xian completely lost his mind. His clothes instantly turned to ashes, and in the next moment Yi Xian directly. Chapter 926. At this moment Yi Xian had completely lost his mind. Zhang Wenxiu was also at her weakest. She had no strength to resist Yi Xian at all. The moment Yi Xian entered, a low moan suddenly sounded in the room. There was a hint of pain in the voice. Lifting her jade-like feet and stroking her jade-like buttocks, one moving and one still, she entered the clouds. Her eyes blurred and her body gradually trembled. Each wave was higher than the last. Everyone said that longevity was good, but how could it be better than a room in the mortal world? Half an acre of green field opened up once he entered. This place was not accessible to outsiders. About 2 hours later, the red glow on Yi Xian's body gradually subsided. Another hour passed. Yi Xian, who was lying on the bed, suddenly opened his eyes. As if he had thought of something, he suddenly looked down at his lower body. There was a spot of blood blooming like a plum blossom. Yi Xian frowned. I'm bleeding? As if something had occurred to him, Yi Xian slapped himself hard in the mouth. At this moment he thought of many things. It's over. That was Yi Xian's first thought. After a moment Yi Xian shook his head. He looked around. Zhang Wenxiu was no longer there. She didn't kill me? Yi Xian thought about it, then put on his clothes and walked out. At this moment the worldwide academy had returned to peace. However, the academy was still in a mess. Many of the buildings had been destroyed. At this moment, a black-robed elder suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. The black-robed elder opened his palm and the prison pagoda appeared in his hand. He handed the prison pagoda to Yi Xian. Master Yi, Hierarch Wenxiu asked me to give this to you. Yi Xian took the prison pagoda and asked, Where's Miss Wenxiu? I want to see her. The black-robed elder said, Hierarch Wenxiu is in seclusion. Seclusion? Yi Xian frowned. How long will it take? The black-robed elder shook his head. I don't know. Yi Xian was silent. The black-robed old man said, Divine Master Yi, although the Devouring Spirit clan was defeated this time, they will never let it go. They may attack Fu Wenzhong next time. You'd better go back and get ready. Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, Senior, please notify me if Miss Wenxiu emerges from her closed-door cultivation. The black-robed elder nodded. All right. Yi Xian glanced at the courtyard where Zhang Wenxiu resided, and then he said, Farewell. With that, he disappeared into the horizon. As soon as Yi Xian arrived in the clouds, a woman appeared in front of him. Yi Ling. Yi Xian instantly heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Yi Ling was safe and sound. Even though he knew that Yi Ling was formidable, if the Devouring Spirit clan intended to target Yi Ling, then Yi Ling would be in great danger. Yi Ling spoke softly when she saw Yi Xian. It's good that you're fine. Yi Xian spoke in a low voice. Was Li Mubai the one who stopped you? Yi Ling nodded. Yi Xian's face fell. Li Mubai. Yi Xian turned to look in the direction of a mortal exile city, and a trace of ruthlessness flashed through his eyes. Yi Ling spoke softly. The Devouring Spirit clan probably bribed him with something. Yi Xian spoke indifferently. No matter what, I'll remember this. Yi Ling nodded. Yes. Then she looked at Yi Xian. What's your next plan? Yi Xian said, This time the Devouring Spirit clan didn't expect that I could escape, and they didn't expect that the Worldwide Academy would protect me. So they failed this time. But they definitely won't give up. If I'm not wrong, they'll probably make a move against Fu Wenzhong. Fu Wenzhong. Yi Ling said, I'll go to Fu Wenzhong. Yi Xian nodded. You must go to Fu Wenzhong. Only with you can they not dare to act rashly. Yi Ling turned to look in the direction of the Devouring Spirit clan and said softly, I can't just sit and wait for death. Yi Xian nodded slightly. I can't just sit and wait for death. I have to find a way to contact those big families. Then he seemed to think of something and looked at Yi Ling. The Wu Kingdom has appeared. Ling, do you have any hatred for the Wu Kingdom? If you do, I won't go to them. Yi Ling shook her head. We used to be enemies. However, with the appearance of the Prophet, we have disappeared from the eyes of the world. As for enmity, those who had enmity with him back then should have all died. Yi Xian smiled. That's good. Because the first place I want to find is the Wu Kingdom. Yi Ling asked, why? Yi Xian said, because the Wu Kingdom didn't completely help the Devouring Spirit clan just now. That is to say, the Wu Kingdom has its own ideas. As long as they have their own ideas, I will have a chance. Yi Ling said softly, I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to convince them. Yi Xian smiled. It's okay. I have to try. What if I succeed? If I succeed, the Devouring Spirit clan will have one less helper and we will have one more powerful ally. Yi Ling nodded. You can give it a try. But be careful. Yi Xian smiled. Don't worry. Your brother's ability to escape is very strong. Yi Ling walked in front of Yi Xian. She grabbed Yi Xian's hand and said softly, Before I was very afraid. For the first time I felt afraid. Yi Xian said, What are you afraid of? Yi Ling looked at Yi Xian. I'm afraid of losing you. Yi Xian was silent. Yi Ling said softly, I want to live well. You also have to live well. We brother and sister have to live well. Okay. Yi Xian gently rubbed Yi Ling's head and said with a smile, Okay. Being rubbed by Yi Xian, Yi Ling didn't resist at all. On the contrary, she felt very close to him. After the brother and sister met for a while, Yi Ling left. She went directly to Fu Wenzong. Now Fu Wenzong must be guarded by a super expert. Otherwise, a sneak attack from the Devouring Spirit clan could kill Fu Wenzong. After parting with Yi Ling, Yi Xian was preparing to go to Wu country. At this time, an old man suddenly appeared in front of him. Yi Xian held the Executing Heaven sword in his right hand. The old man's expression changed. He quickly said, Divine Master Yi, don't attack. This old man is Mu Danshan of the Alchemy faction. Alchemy faction? Yi Xian looked at Mu Danshan and said, Senior Mu, is there something you need from me? Mu Danshan said seriously, Divine Master Yi, tell the old man honestly, where did you get the golden pill that you swallowed in the Worldwide Academy? Golden pill. Yi Xian glanced at Mu Danshan. It turned out that she had come for this. The other party's information network was really well informed. At this time, Mu Danshan said, Divine Master Yi, as far as I know, there are 2 Shumi golden pills in this world and these 2 pills are in my alchemy sect. In this world, there is absolutely no one who can refine the Shumi golden pill. Yi Xian asked, Why? Mu Danshan said in a deep voice, Because in this world, there is no such rare spiritual energy. Moreover, even if there is such rare spiritual energy, no one has that kind of attainment in alchemy. Yi Xian shook his head. You're wrong. Mu Danshan looked at Yi Xian and Yi Xian said with a smile, As far as I know, there is such rare spiritual energy in this world, and there are also people with such high attainment in alchemy. No, it's spirits. Mu Danshan stared at Yi Xian. Oh. Yi Xian was silent. Mu Danshan suddenly bowed respectfully. Divine Master Yi, please tell me. Otherwise, the old man will not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Yi Xian thought for a moment, then he called Xiao Linger out. When she saw Xiao Linger, Mu Danshan's expression suddenly became strange. Divine Master Yi, are you saying that she is the person who refined the pill? Yi Xian nodded. Mu Danshan's face darkened. Divine Master Yi, she is not human. Yi Xian said with a smile, Can't someone who isn't human do alchemy? Mu Danshan was speechless. At this time, Yi Xian gently patted Xiao Linger on the shoulder and said with a smile, Show this senior what you're capable of. Xiao Linger blinked, then took out the alchemy furnace and began to refine pills on the spot. Yi Xian was also watching seriously. This was the first time he had watched Xiao Linger refine pills so seriously. Xiao Linger was very serious. She put all kinds of elixir materials into the alchemy furnace little by little. She did it very carefully and her technique was also very skilled. She was not refining a Sumeru Jindan, but a marrow-cleansing spiritual pill. At this moment, Mu Danshan was also fascinated by it. About half an hour later, Xiao Linger waved her small hand, and a wisp of dark purple spiritual energy appeared in her palm. When she saw this wisp of dark purple spiritual energy, Mu Danshan was stunned. Yi Xian was also a little serious. This wisp of spiritual energy was the purest spiritual energy he had ever seen. It was even purer than chaotic qi. Xiao Linger put the wisp of purple energy into the alchemy furnace. Soon, the alchemy furnace began to tremble gradually. About a quarter of an hour later, the lid of the alchemy furnace suddenly opened, and a golden elixir floated out of the alchemy furnace. Xiao Linger's small hand waved, and the golden elixir fell into her hand. Then she handed the golden elixir to Yi Xian. Yi Xian sniffed it and then gave Xiao Linger a thumbs up. Amazing! After receiving Yi Xian's praise, Xiao Linger's face suddenly showed a bright smile. At this time, Mu Danshan suddenly said in a trembling voice, Divine Master Yi, can you show me this thing? Yi Xian nodded and said with a smile, Of course. After saying that, he bent his finger and the golden elixir fell in front of Mu Danshan. Mu Danshan held the golden elixir with both hands. After a while he said in a trembling voice, The perfect elixir. It's really the perfect elixir without a trace of impurities. Not even a trace. It's terrible. Yi Xian was a little curious. The perfect elixir? What do you mean? Mu Danshan looked at Yi Xian. Divine Master Yi, you may not know this, but as the saying goes, medicine is 30% poisonous. When we refine elixirs, we have to remove the poison and impurities, but this is very difficult. Even the old man can only remove 80% of the poison. Speaking of this, he looked at Xiao Linger with a complicated expression. But she can remove all the poison in the elixir and there is no trace of impurities. This is incredible. Yi Xian was very happy when he heard Mu Danshan praise Yi Ling, and he said with a smile, Senior Mu, I still have something to do, so I'll be taking my leave first. As soon as he finished speaking, he was about to leave with Xiao Linger. Meanwhile, Mu Danshan suddenly said, Divine Master Yi, please wait. Yi Xian looked at Mu Danshan. Mu Danshan hesitated for a moment and said, I wonder if this young lady has a master? Yi Xian shook his head. She doesn't. She just learned how to refine elixirs according to some ancient alchemy books. Mu Danshan was visibly moved. What a monstrous genius. As he spoke, he hesitated to speak. Yi Xian smiled and said, What does Senior Mu want to say? Mu Danshan hesitated for a moment and said, The old man wants her to join my alchemy sect. Yi Xian shook his head. No. Mu Danshan frowned slightly. Why? Yi Xian said seriously, Senior, you know that I, Fu Wenzong, have a great enemy in the Devouring Spirit clan. If she joins my alchemy sect, then your alchemy sect will be implicated as well. How could Mu Danshan not understand what Yi Xian meant? Yi Xian wants my alchemy sect to take a stand. Should I be dragged into this vortex? Mu Danshan fell silent. P.S. I've noticed that some readers are getting more and more naughty. Am I imagining things? Chapter 927. In all fairness, Mu Danshan did not want to get involved in this dispute because the Devouring Spirit clan was very aggressive. If the alchemy sect got involved, it was likely to bring disaster to the alchemy sect. Yi Xian's intention was clear. He wanted the alchemy sect to take a side. Mu Danshan sighed. Divine Master Yi, I need to be responsible for the entire alchemy sect. Yi Xian nodded and smiled. I understand. I will not force the alchemy sect to get involved in this dispute. After saying that, he pulled Lil Ling and turned to leave. At this moment, Mu Danshan stood in front of Yi Xian again. He glanced at Lil Linger, hesitated for a moment and then said, Master Yi, if you're willing to let him join my alchemy sect, you can name your conditions. Yi Xian thought about it and said, Senior Mu, do you really think the alchemy sect can avoid this dispute? Mu Danshan frowned. What do you mean? Yi Xian smiled. What was the purpose of the Devouring Spirit clan? It was to destroy all living beings and make the Devouring Spirit clan the sole ruler. Now, although they are only targeting me in the Worldwide Academy, do you really think so? If we die, what do you think they will do? Mu Danshan was silent. Yi Xian smiled. With all due respect, everyone is now watching me in the Worldwide Academy. But I believe that in the future, your fate will be worse than ours. Mu Danshan said calmly, Divine Master Yi, you're being a little alarmist. In the past, the Devouring Spirit clan had the strength to dominate the fifth dimension, but now they do not. Yi Xian smiled. I can understand that the alchemy sect wants to be neutral. After all, the Devouring Spirit clan is not targeting the alchemy sect. And I, Yi Xian, do not want to use Xiao Ling to threaten the alchemy sect. It's just that Xiao Ling is my sister. If she joins the alchemy sect, she will inevitably be targeted by the Devouring Spirit clan. I don't want her to be in any danger. Mutant Qin hurriedly said, You can rest assured about this, Divine Mentor Yi. Our alchemy sect will protect her with our lives and not let her be in any danger. Yi Xian looked straight at Mu Qin. None of you are as strong as me. What guarantee do you have? With all due respect, if the Devouring Spirit clan exerts a little pressure on you, what can you do to resist? Mutant Qin still wanted to say something, but Yi Xian said, Also, Senior Mu Xiaolinger has reached such a realm without a teacher. Tell me, why does she still want to go to your alchemy sect? What good would it do her? Want money? Do you think I, Fu Wenzong, am not as rich as your alchemy sect? Learn alchemy techniques? May I ask who in your alchemy sect is capable of teaching her? Tell me, why does she want to go to your alchemy sect? Mutant Qin was speechless and could not refute. Comparing money? Fu Wenzong was no less than the alchemy grandmaster. When it came to pill refining techniques, based on the little girl's performance, no one in the alchemy sect was her match. Most importantly, she possessed a rare amount of spiritual energy. Ask yourself, why did she want to go to the alchemy sect with me? At this moment he suddenly understood one thing. It was not that she begged to join his alchemy sect, but his alchemy sect begged her to join. Yi Xian did not say anything more. He left with Xiaolinger. If joining the alchemy sect was beneficial to Xiaolinger, he did not mind letting Xiaolinger join. However, he was very clear that the alchemy sect did not have the ability to protect Xiaolinger. Moreover, if Xiaolinger joined the alchemy sect, it was very likely that she would be used. Although Xiaolinger was usually cunning, she would definitely not be able to play with these old guys. Therefore he would not let Xiaolinger leave him. This time Yi Xian did not give Mudanchen any chance. He directly disappeared into the horizon on his sword. In the same place Mudanchen sighed softly. Fu Wenzong really did not have any capital to ask a person who could refine Sumeru pills to join the alchemy sect. If she came to the alchemy sect, what could the alchemy sect give her? They could not give her anything. Moreover, his idea just now was to ask Xiaolinger for advice on how to refine Sumeru pills. Since he was begging her, he definitely had to pay something. After a moment of silence, Mudanchen turned and left. The direction he left in was the direction of Fu Wenzong. This time Yi Xian learned to be smart. He did not openly fly on his sword, but directly entered the realm of emptiness. Right now it was better to keep a low profile. He did not want to be besieged again. Wu country. The Wu country was located in the martial world. This martial world was a world forcibly opened up by the king of the Wu country. The reason why such a world was opened up was because the prophet suppressed the entire fifth dimension with an invincible posture. The king of the Wu country immediately chose to hide from the world and avoid the sharp edge. After that, the Wu country slowly disappeared from the eyes of the world. This time Yi Xian's purpose was to rope in the Wu country. The devouring spirit clan was asking for help. Naturally he would also ask for help. About an hour later Yi Xian arrived at the legendary entrance to the martial world. Yi Xian did not sneak in. This time he was here to talk business, so he could not sneak in. As soon as Yi Xian revealed his true body, a powerful aura directly locked him. Yi Xian cupped his fists. Fu Wenzong Yi Xian is here to see the king of the Wu country. After a moment, a young man suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. The young man looked at Yi Xian and then said, "Follow me." Yi Xian nodded and followed the young man into the martial world. In the martial world Yi Xian glanced around. This martial world was vast, rich in spiritual qi, and there were many experts. As soon as he entered he felt many powerful auras. Very powerful. After a moment the young man brought Yi Xian to the capital of the Wu country. Yi Xian looked around. There were many people in the city. Of course, in this world where everyone practiced martial arts, these people were also martial artists. During this time, powerful auras swept over him from time to time. Soon the young man brought Yi Xian to the Wu country's imperial palace. However, when the young man brought him to a hall, he suddenly said, "Divine Master Yi, please wait a moment." After saying that, he turned around and entered the hall. Yi Xian looked around the imperial palace. This palace was not very big, but there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons. He could feel many hidden auras. Unfathomable. Whether it was the devouring spirit clan or the Wu country, they both gave him an unfathomable feeling. These ancient forces had a long history and deep heritage, and their strength was even more unfathomable. In the past there were prophets who suppressed these ancient forces, but now there was no one in the fifth dimension who could suppress these ancient forces. He could not be careless and underestimate the enemy. At this moment the sound of footsteps came from the side. Yi Xian turned his head and looked. He knew the person who came. It was Wu Xingnan. Wu Xingnan was still dressed in white armor, with a sheathed long blade on her back, looking valiant and heroic. Yi Xian smiled and said, "Miss Wu." Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian. "Father is a little busy right now and can't see Divine Master Yi. If Divine Master Yi doesn't mind, how about I accompany you for a stroll?" Yi Xian smiled and said, "Of course I don't mind." Wu Xingnan nodded slightly. Just like that, with Wu Xingnan leading the way, the two slowly strolled around the imperial palace. The two walked side by side. Wu Xingnan suddenly said, "Divine Master Yi, why are you here?" Yi Xian said seriously, "Miss Wu, as far as I know, you seem to be working with the Devouring Spirit Clan?" Wu Xingnan nodded, "Yes." Yi Xian said, "I'm a little curious. What kind of reward did the Devouring Spirit Clan offer you?" Wu Xingnan said, "Some things that my Wu country needs right now, and some reasons that my Wu country can't refuse." Yi Xian asked, "What reasons?" Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian. To not let the Azura Kingdom and the Worldwide Academy rise. Very straightforward. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, Miss Wu, if I may ask, do you know the true strength of the Devouring Spirit clan? Wu Shengnan shook her head, I don't know. Yi Xian stopped and looked straight at Wu Shengnan. Miss Wu, I'll be straightforward. The Wu country's current intention should be to prevent the Azura Kingdom and the Worldwide Academy from rising, but also not to let the Devouring Spirit clan dominate, right? Wu Shengnan nodded. Yi Xian said, in addition, if I'm not wrong, the Wu country also covets that study house, right? Wu Shengnan said, yes. That study house has something that my Wu country must take. Yi Xian said with a smile, Miss Wu, do you think the Worldwide Academy and I are a greater threat, or the Devouring Spirit clan? Wu Shengnan said, the Devouring Spirit clan. Saying this, she looked at Yi Xian, the Devouring Spirit clan can give us what we want. Yi Xian said, I can also give it to you. Don't you want the thing in the study house? I can give it to you. Wu Shengnan looked at Yi Xian, not saying anything. Yi Xian said seriously, that study house is in the academy and the key is in my hands. As long as we want, we can open that study house at any time. Wu Shengnan said, you open it and give it to me. I promise you that the Wu country will no longer participate in this matter. Yi Xian said seriously, Miss Wu, it's not very kind of you to say that. My idea is your Wu country will stand on our side and help us open the study house. What do you think? Wu Shengnan shook her head, no. Yi Xian frowned, why? Wu Shengnan said, if we stand on your side and help you open the study house, my Wu country will be targeted by countless forces. If my Wu country stands on the side of the Devouring Spirit clan, it will be us and countless forces against you. My Wu country will only take one of them and they will give us face. Yi Xian was silent. He knew that if he wanted to persuade this Miss Wu, he had to use his ultimate skill. Bluff. He had to bluff. Yi Xian looked at Wu Shengnan. Do you know why the Devouring Spirit clan wants to seize that study house? Wu Shengnan asked, why? Yi Xian said softly, because in that study house, there is a very, very important existence to the Devouring Spirit clan. Wu Shengnan frowned, don't beat around the bush, just say it. Yi Xian said, Miss Wu, do you know why the Devouring Spirit clan suddenly became so low-key? Because with their current strength they cannot dominate the entire fifth dimension. However, if they open that study house they can dominate the entire fifth dimension. At that time, let alone the ancient race, the headmaster, the Wu country, the evil spirit ancestor, they will all be useless in front of them. Speaking of this, his expression suddenly became solemn, because in that study house, the peerless powerhouse of the Devouring Spirit clan was suppressed. Let me tell you, when the Prophet suppressed the Devouring Spirit clan, he did not kill the peerless powerhouse of the Devouring Spirit clan. Instead, he suppressed him in that study house. If they open that study house and awaken that peerless powerhouse at that time, can you imagine, now that the Prophet is no longer here, who in the world can suppress him? Hearing this, Wu Shengnan frowned even deeper. That person did not die. Yi Xian nodded. Yes, this matter was personally told to me by Xiao Ta because he participated in that matter back then. Xiao Ta. Wu Shengnan looked straight at Yi Xian. What you said is true? Yi Xian said seriously, I can swear in the name of Xiao Ta, swear it. The small tower suddenly began to tremble. Chapter 928. Protest. Xiao Ta was protesting, but it was useless. In front of Yi Xian, Wu Shengnan just stared at him. Yi Xian's expression did not change. Miss Wu, what I said is not false. The reason why the Devouring Spirit clan is so eager to open that study room is because they want to unseal their ancestor. Once that expert is unsealed, the balance that the Wu country wants will be broken. At that time, if the Devouring Spirit clan wants your country to kneel and swear allegiance to them, will you agree? Or will you not agree? Wu Shengnan was silent. As Yi Xian said, the Wu country wanted benefits, but they did not want to fight with any of the forces. On the other hand, the Wu kingdom was able to act in such a way because the Devouring Spirit clan and Myriad Dimension Academy didn't want to offend them. However, if the Myriad Dimension Academy was annihilated and the Devouring Spirit clan really unsealed that ancestor of theirs, then the situation would be greatly different. At this time Yi Xian said, Miss Wu, the Devouring Spirit clan's current strength is still a mystery. What? Because they do not dare to expose too much, fearing that they will make you afraid. Forgive me for speaking bluntly, but if they open that study room and awaken that ancestor, the entire fifth dimension will have to surrender to their Devouring Spirit clan. At that time, the Wu country will find that they are much more terrifying than our Shura country and the Worldwide Academy. After all, Ling Heir does not have the heart to dominate, and the Worldwide Academy is already half dead. They only want to protect themselves and do not have any great ambitions. But the Devouring Spirit clan is different. They are very ambitious, otherwise they would not want to kill one of the 6 great experts from the beginning. Wu Xingnan said softly, "What you said is half true and half false." Yi Xian. Wu Xingnan did not speak again. She slowly walked away. Yi Xian followed. He did not disturb Wu Xingnan. He knew that the woman in front of him was thinking. The reason why he said so much was because he knew that Wu Xingnan's position in the Wu country was not low. If he could persuade her, there was a great chance that he could persuade the Wu country. In this way the two slowly walked away. A moment later Wu Xingnan suddenly said, "We've investigated you." Yi Xian smiled and said, "Miss Wu, feel free to speak your mind." Wu Xingnan said, "You are a very thick-skinned person. You are very good at deceiving people and you like to use crafty plots and schemes." Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, "Miss Wu, you can tell me about my strong points." Wu Xingnan said, "I value friendship and righteousness and I have my principles. I will not betray the people around me, and I will sacrifice myself for my friends and family." Yi Xian asked, "I've never had an ally, have I?" Wu Xingnan shook her head, "No." Yi Xian stood in front of Wu Xingnan. "Miss Wu, you're a direct person and I'm also a direct person. Let's all be a bit more direct. Are you willing to ally with the Devouring Spirit clan or with me? Or could it be that you want to continue watching from the sidelines and reap the spoils?" Wu Xingnan was silent. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan silently, waiting for her answer. After a moment Wu Xingnan suddenly said, "To convince the Wu country, you must convince them of what you just said." Yi Xian asked, "What is it?" Wu Xingnan said, "You tricked me into saying that the Devouring Spirit clan's ancestor is in the Myriad Dimensional Library." Yi Xian said with a straight face, "Miss Wu, I Yi Xian never lie. What I said just now is the truth." Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian and shook her head, "Your skin is unparalleled." "Yi Xian," Wu Xingnan said, "to convince the Wu country, you must convince them that the Devouring Spirit clan's ancestor is imprisoned in the library. Only then will the elders of the Wu country stop the Devouring Spirit clan from opening the library, or at least not ally with them." Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "Miss Wu, why are you so sure I'm lying?" Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian. "Intuition." Yi Xian was speechless. Wu Xingnan said softly, "Compared to the Devouring Spirit clan, I am more willing to ally with you. However, if I'm not wrong, even if the Wu country ally with you, they will not send any experts to help you." Yi Xian was silent. He knew what Wu Xingnan meant. Even if the Wu country allied with the Myriad Dimensions Academy, they would definitely not follow the Myriad Dimensions Academy to fight the Devouring Spirit clan to the death. The Wu country would definitely not help either side. They would not help the Myriad Dimensions Academy, nor the Devouring Spirit clan. At this time, neither the Worldwide Academy nor the Devouring Spirit clan would dare to cause trouble for the Wu country. Simply put, as long as the Wu country did not take action, they could maximize their benefits. For Yi Xian, as long as the Wu country did not help the Devouring Spirit clan, it was already a good ending. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. "Miss Wu, how can I convince the elders of the Wu country that what I said is true?" Wu Xingnan opened her palm. "Let me see that pagoda." Yi Xian did not refuse. With a flick of his finger, Xiao Ta fell into Wu Xingnan's palm. Looking at the World Prison Pagoda in her hand, Wu Xingnan said softly, "I want to go in." Yi Xian hesitated for a moment before nodding. Then he led Wu Xingnan into Xiao Ta. Inside the pagoda, Wu Xingnan looked around and finally came to the 9th floor. She looked at the door of the 9th floor and said softly, "Are you the person I am looking for?" A moment later the 9th floor said, "The person you are looking for should be on the 10th floor." "The 10th floor?" Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian. Yi Xian frowned. "Senior, there are only 9 floors. Where are the other 3? The 9th floor said, "The entrance to the 10th floor is in my building. However, the current you does not have the ability to open it." Yi Xian asked in a deep voice, "What kind of strength do I need to open it?" The 9th floor said, "Dao Law. You must at least find the Dao Law of the 8th floor." Dao Law. After a moment of silence, Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. "Miss Wu, is there someone you know in here?" Wu Xingnan nodded. "An ancestor of my Wu country." Yi Xian said, "I can't open the seal of the 10th floor for the time being." Wu Xingnan nodded. "It's fine. He has been locked up for so many years anyway. A little more time won't hurt." Yi Xian. A moment later Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan left the World Prison Pagoda. Outside the World Prison Pagoda, Wu Xingnan walked into the distance. Go back. Go back? Yi Xian was stunned for a moment before hurrying to Wu Xingnan's side. I haven't seen your ruler yet. Wu Xingnan shook her head. No need. I promise you, we won't help the devouring spirit tribe for the time being. Yi Xian glanced at Wu Xingnan. He knew that this woman's status in the Wu country was even higher than he imagined. Yi Xian collected his thoughts and was about to leave when Wu Xingnan suddenly said, Are you interested in going to a secret realm? Secret realm? Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. What secret realm? Wu Xingnan said, My Wu country discovered an unknown secret realm in the starry sky. There are many barriers and seals in that secret realm. My Wu country is afraid of destroying that secret realm, so we didn't dare to break through it. Saying so, she looked at Yi Xian. As far as I know, there is a Tao law in your pagoda that is very good at sealing barriers, right? Lian Xian. Yi Xian nodded, yes. Wu Xingnan said, You and I will explore that secret realm. I will take you there and you will be responsible for breaking the barriers and seals. If there are treasures inside, it will depend on your own luck. What do you think? Yi Xian thought for a moment and then said, All right. Wu Xingnan nodded, Wait a moment, I have something to take care of. Saying so, she turned and left. On the spot, Yi Xian said softly, Miss Lian Xian, tell me honestly, what is inside that study room? Everyone in the world was fighting over that study room, but very few people actually knew what was inside. Even Yi Xian didn't know. Lian Xian was silent for a moment and then she said, There are many things left behind by Master in the study room. When Master was still alive, he liked to do research in the study room. Master was proficient in everything, including talismans, alchemy, equipment forging, and array formations. Besides that, he had a very deep understanding of martial arts. There are definitely some divine abilities in martial arts that he left behind in the study room. In addition, he also liked to create treasures and the like, so there are definitely many treasures inside. In short, the things inside are very precious, and anyone who obtains them can definitely change their fate. Prophet? Yi Xian said softly, Why is he so monstrous? Lian Xian said, Some people are born different from others. Yi Xian nodded, I agree with this, such as me. Lian Xian said, Are you really planning to be shameless? Yi Xian's face was full of black lines. Miss Lian Xian, am I not good enough? Lian Xian said, In terms of shamelessness, I think no one in the entire fifth dimension can compare to you. Yi Xian. At this time Wu Xingnan suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. Let's go. Saying so, she waved her hand, and a transmission array suddenly appeared in front of her. After the two entered the transmission array, they disappeared into thin air. After a quarter of an hour, the two appeared in a starry sky. Yi Xian glanced at the surrounding starry sky. The starry sky was deep and boundless and he couldn't see the end of it. Moreover, there were some powerful auras around them. Yi Xian said, Miss Wu, this is? Wu Xingnan said, My Wu country's experts, they are secretly guarding for us to prevent any accidents. Accidents? Yi Xian asked, What accidents? Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian, Danger. Saying so, she suddenly pointed her finger at the depths of the starry sky. With this point, the starry sky suddenly trembled and soon, a black door appeared in the depths of the starry sky. On the black door there was a deep mark and from the looks of it was a bit like a sword mark. Yi Xian said, Miss Wu, what secret realm is this? Wu Xingnan shook her head, I don't know. It was discovered by my Wu country by chance. Yi Xian looked at the black door and on the left side of the door, there was a line of words. Yi Xian carefully looked at it, and when he saw the line of words, he was slightly stunned. So arrogant? On the left side of the door there was a carving. With a sword in hand, I am invincible, and I specialize in subduing those who refuse to submit. P.S. I will be honest, recently I went to the healthcare center because of the plot. You all know, some plots are very difficult to write without some social experience. In order to write more realistically and make everyone feel more immersed, I had to personally try it out. Chapter 929. Arrogant. That was what Yi Xian felt at this moment. Needless to say, the person who carved those words was truly arrogant. With a sword in hand, he was invincible, and he specialized in subduing those who refused to submit. How arrogant was that? Meanwhile, Wu Xingnan suddenly said, I wonder who carved those words. They're actually so heroic. Yi Xian nodded. He was quite curious about the person who carved those words. Meanwhile, Wu Xingnan said, There's a barrier on the way to this black door. It's very strong and my Wu dynasty doesn't dare to break it. As she spoke, she looked at Yi Xian. You? Yi Xian nodded, all right. As soon as he finished speaking, he called out Lian Qian. After Lian Qian appeared, she sized up the surroundings, and it didn't take long for her expression to become solemn. Yi Xian asked, what's wrong? Lian Qian spoke softly, this is a barrier set up by swords. Yi Xian was surprised, a sword barrier? Lian Qian nodded, the person who set up this barrier has extremely high attainments in the sword Dao. Yi Xian asked, can you remove it? Lian Qian replied, I can. But I need your cooperation. Yi Xian said, feel free to instruct me. Lian Qian suddenly vanished on the spot, and when she appeared again she was 300 m away. Meanwhile, rays of sword light suddenly appeared around her, and they crisscrossed like a net as they slashed towards Lian Qian. Yi Xian's expression changed drastically, and he was about to attack when Lian Qian shook her head and stopped Yi Xian. Yi Xian stopped and stared at Lian Qian. At this moment, Lian Qian suddenly started fiddling with her hands. The space around them suddenly trembled, and the sword lights in the surroundings suddenly dimmed at this moment. Yi Xian instantly heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. Wu Xingnan suddenly said, as expected of a Tao law created by the prophet. It really is amazing. Yi Xian smiled, it really is amazing. Wu Xingnan shook her head. It's just the beginning. Yi Xian was about to speak when Lian Qian spoke abruptly, lend me the executing heaven sword. Yi Xian flicked his finger, and the executing heaven sword flew in front of Lian Qian. Lian Qian grabbed the executing heaven sword with her right hand and thrust it forward. The space before her was directly torn apart. Right at this moment, numerous strands of sword qi suddenly appeared in the surroundings, and they instantly drowned Lian Qian. Yi Xian was shocked. He was just about to attack when the space Lian Qian resided in suddenly trembled violently. After that, the sword qi started to vanish bit by bit, and it wasn't long before all the sword qi had vanished into thin air. At this time, Lian Qian appeared in front of Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan. At this time, Lian Qian's face was abnormally pale. It was obvious that she had consumed a great deal of energy just now. Lian Qian handed the executing heaven sword to Yi Xian. This place isn't simple. Be careful. I need to rest for a while. With that, she returned to the prison pagoda. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. Let's go. Wu Xingnan nodded. The two of them arrived in front of the black door. Yi Xian sized up the black door and then said, let's go. With that, he and Wu Xingnan directly entered the black door. Bang. As soon as the two of them entered, the surrounding starry sky immediately darkened. The surrounding martial country experts were directly jolted back several tens of thousands of zhang. In the starry sky, a shocked voice suddenly sounded. The situation has changed. Informed the king. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan appeared on top of a mountain peak. 100 zhang in front of them stood a black palace, and behind this palace, there were more than a dozen smaller palaces. This was a sect. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan beside him. The latter said softly, I've lost contact with the martial country experts. Be careful. Yi Xian frowned slightly. Lost contact? Wu Xingnan nodded. She looked around and said, completely lost contact. This place is a bit strange. Yi Xian said seriously, is there an expert guarding this place waiting for someone to come and possess it? Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian. You're quite imaginative. With that, she walked towards the palace in the distance. In the same place, Yi Xian shrugged and followed. Soon, the two of them arrived in front of the palace. Above the palace, there were 3 large words carved in black. Invincible sect. Invincible sect? Seeing these 3 words, Yi Xian was momentarily speechless. So arrogant? Wu Xingnan said softly, this sect is very special. Yi Xian nodded. It is indeed very special. Miss Wu, do you know this invincible sect? Wu Xingnan shook her head. Never heard of it. Yi Xian said in a low voice, so this sect is either very weak, or it has existed for a very long time, even before your martial country. Wu Xingnan looked towards the depths of the palace and said softly, be careful. Yi Xian nodded. Let's go in and have a look. With that, he was about to walk in when his expression suddenly changed. In the next moment he drew his sword and slashed. Bang. In an instant Yi Xian retreated over 10 meters. After stopping, Yi Xian looked up at a man standing not too far away. The man wore a black embroidered robe and his body was illusory. Obviously this wasn't his real body but a soul form. Moreover, his soul wasn't solid, so it was obviously an incomplete soul form. The man sized up Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan and then he smiled. I didn't expect that someone would really be able to come in. The two of you are quite capable to be able to break the barrier outside. Wu Xingnan placed her left hand on the hilt of the saber behind her, and she was ready to attack. The man in the embroidered robe glanced at Wu Xingnan and then he smiled. Do you want to fight? Wu Xingnan said, I'm considering. The man in the embroidered robe laughed and then he said, if the two of you want to enter this door, then you have to pass through me first. Do the two of you want to come one by one or do you want to come at me together? Forget it, both of you can come at me together. Yi Xian suddenly said, may I know your distinguished self's name? The man in the embroidered robe smiled. Yan Wu. Yi Xian said in a low voice, your distinguished self, is there an inheritance behind this door? Inheritance? Yan Wu laughed and then he said, you're quite a direct person. You'll naturally know what's behind it once you pass through me. If you can't, then everything will be for naught. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. You? Wu Xingnan asked, you? Yi Xian shook his head. If I did it, then it would be too simple and meaningless. Too simple? Yan Wu suddenly roared with laughter. Young man, you aren't just an ordinary kind of arrogance. Come, I want to fight you. Yi Xian looked at Yan Wu. Senior, are you sure? Yan Wu smiled. I'm sure. Yi Xian thought for a moment and then he said, how about this, senior, let's make a bet. Bet whether or not I can defeat you with a single sword strike. Yan Wu sized up Yi Xian and said with a smile, defeat me with a single sword strike? Are you sure? Yi Xian nodded. Yes. Yan Wu laughed. Alright, no problem. What's the bet? Yi Xian said, if senior loses then today senior has to answer truthfully no matter what I ask. Senior can't conceal anything. If I lose then I'll be at senior's disposal. How about it? Yan Wu smiled. At my disposal? Are you sure? Yi Xian nodded. I'm sure. Yan Wu said, alright, I agree. As he spoke he smiled. Come, make your move. Yi Xian said, senior, can I use any treasures? Yan Wu smiled. As you wish. Yi Xian nodded slightly. Then he opened his palm, and the soul-suppressing sword appeared in his hand. The moment the soul-suppressing sword appeared, the smile on Yan Wu's face suddenly froze. Soul-suppressing sword. Heaven restrains the soul. When he saw the soul-suppressing sword, Yan Wu gave Yi Xian a thumbs up. Young man, you're good. Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian. So sneaky. Yi Xian looked at Yan Wu and said with a smile, Senior, do you still want to fight? Yan Wu shook his head. I can take one sword strike from you but the price is too high. I still have to live for a while so I lose. Yi Xian bowed slightly to Yan Wu. Junior took advantage of the opportunity. Yan Wu smiled. Wisdom is also a kind of strength. Speak, what do you want to know? Yi Xian said, what kind of sect is this invincible sect? Yan Wu asked, what era is it now? What era? Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. Wu Xingnan pondered for a moment, then said, do you know about prophets? Yan Wu shook his head. I've never heard of it. Wu Xingnan said, then your era should be very, very far away from us. Yan Wu said softly, I never thought that so many years had passed. Wu Xingnan said, currently the earliest known history of my Wu country is the Cretaceous era. That is an unknown era. The reason why we know about that era is because of some fragmented information left behind in secret realms. However, we have no way of finding out what kind of era it was. As she spoke, she looked at Yan Wu. Are you from that era? Yan Wu shook his head. I'm not from that era. However, I know about that era because someone from my generation personally witnessed the destruction of that era. The destruction of an era? Yi Xian frowned. The destruction of an era? Was it man-made or a natural disaster? Yan Wu looked at Yi Xian. The fifth dimension calamity. The fifth dimension calamity. Yi Xian was stunned. Yan Wu frowned. You know about the fifth dimension calamity? Yi Xian nodded. He still remembered that the blue-robed swordsman had told him about the fifth dimension calamity. However, he didn't care about it at the time. He never thought that he would hear about it here. Yan Wu said in a deep voice, how do you know about the fifth dimension calamity? Yi Xian said, a senior told me about it. Yan Wu looked deeply at Yi Xian. That senior of yours is not an ordinary person. Yi Xian nodded. He is indeed not an ordinary person. Senior, what is this fifth dimension calamity? Yan Wu said in a soft voice, a catastrophe. Under that catastrophe, countless creatures of the Cretaceous era were destroyed. There were only a few who survived and those who survived were very weak. They didn't live for long before they died. Yi Xian frowned. Those who survived were very weak. What do you mean? Yan Wu said, in the fifth dimension calamity the stronger one is, the faster they die. On the contrary, the weaker one is, the more likely they are to survive. Yi Xian was about to speak when Lian Qian suddenly appeared beside Yi Xian. She said in a deep voice, I heard Master mention this fifth dimension calamity. Yi Xian looked at Lian Qian. Lian Qian said, when I was chatting with Master he casually mentioned this calamity. He also said that he needed to find some helpers. Chapter 930. Find a few helpers? Yi Xian looked at Lian Qian. Miss Lian Qian, your teacher said he wanted to find helpers? Lian Qian nodded. Yes. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, what else did he say? Lian Qian shook her head. He just mentioned it casually and we didn't ask much. So, I don't know much. However, now that I think about it, Master's expression was a bit serious. It seems that the fifth dimension tribulation isn't simple. Not simple? To the side, Yan Wu shook his head and smiled. It's more than simple. You guys haven't experienced that kind of catastrophe, so you don't know how terrifying it is. Yi Xian looked at Yan Wu. Senior, where did this catastrophe come from? Yan Wu shook his head. I don't know. Yi Xian frowned. Senior doesn't know either? Yan Wu said in a soft voice, after the Chalk Age it has already been hundreds of thousands of years. At that time, there were basically no survivors from the Chalk Age. So, we don't know where the fifth dimension tribulation came from or how it disappeared. We only know that when the catastrophe came, an era was erased. Speaking up to here, he looked at Lian Qian. This catastrophe, it is said, appears once every million years. I calculated that it has been almost 1,000,000 years since the last fifth dimension tribulation. Yi Xian's face was full of black lines. It can't be so coincidental, right? Yan Wu smiled. Maybe it is. But what are you worried about? With your strength, you are still not considered to be at the peak of this world. Therefore you still have a chance to live. As for those top experts, that is, those super experts, they will die faster. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, why? Yan Wu shook his head. I don't know. I only know that the stronger you are, the faster you die. In that era there were many experts. Some of them even reached the undying realm, but they still died. Yi Xian said, Senior, may I ask, did your sect also experience the fifth dimension tribulation? Yan Wu was silent. Yi Xian was about to ask again when Yan Wu suddenly said, the extermination of the invincible sect has nothing to do with the fifth dimension tribulation. In that era the invincible sect was invincible. The sect leader Qin Dugu's strength had even reached the legendary half-step undying realm. His strength was almost invincible at that time. However, for some unknown reason, a mysterious expert came to the invincible sect one day. It was this mysterious expert who destroyed the entire invincible sect. Even the sect leader, Qin Dugu, had fallen on that day. A powerful sect was destroyed in a day. A mysterious expert. Yi Xian knew that this was the main point. He immediately asked, what expert? Yan Wu shook his head, I don't know. Yi Xian asked, Senior, were the words on the black door left behind by that mysterious expert? Hearing this, Yan Wu's expression became serious. No, it was left behind by a swordsman who came here many years ago. Yi Xian quickly asked, what kind of swordsman? Yan Wu said in a deep voice, wearing a cloud-white robe. Yi Xian whispered, it's him. Yan Wu looked at Yi Xian. You know him? Wu Xingnan also looked at Yi Xian. This guy is a bit mysterious. Yi Xian firmly said, I know him. He knew that the swordsman wearing the cloud-white robe was the master of one of the swords on the top of the pagoda. In the four-dimensional universe, the other party's doppelganger had helped him once. Yan Wu looked at Yi Xian. Are you sure you know him? Obviously he didn't believe him. Yi Xian smiled. What, you don't believe me? How about we make a bet? Yan Wu's eyes twitched. You like to cheat people that much? Yi Xian smiled. It's just a joke. Actually, to tell you the truth, the swordsman that Senior mentioned is my sworn brother. I am his brother. Everyone, Yi Xian looked at the three people. You don't believe me? Yan Wu said, you're talking nonsense. I see that you're only in your 20s, while that swordsman came here tens of thousands of years ago. Your brother? How can you be so good at talking nonsense? Wu Xingnan also shook her head. This Yi Xian really can talk nonsense. At this time Yi Xian opened his palm. A sword appeared in his hand. This sword was the sword of the swordsman wearing the cloud-white robe. When she saw this sword, Wu Xingnan's expression instantly became dignified. Common sword. Common sword. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. Didn't Miss Wu also reach the common saber realm? Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian. The mortal realm is divided into 6 layers. These 6 layers represent the 6 states of mind of the mortal realm. After the 6 layers is the true mortal realm. Your sword is the true mortal realm, while my saber is only at the first layer of the mortal realm. Strictly speaking, it can only be regarded as a pseudo-mortal. Pseudo-mortal. Yi Xian understood. There should be a big gap between Wu Xingnan's saber and the 3 swords at the top of the tower. At this time Yan Wu suddenly said, "This sword of yours has his aura." Yi Xian looked at Yan Wu and smiled. "This sword was given to me by my big brother. Do you believe me now?" Yan Wu glanced at Yi Xian and didn't say anything. At this time Wu Xingnan suddenly said, "If he was your big brother, why didn't you let him destroy the devouring spirit clan?" Yi Xian lightly said, "My big brother is busy." Wu Xingnan asked, "Busy with what?" Yi Xian blinked and then said, "Busy looking for a powerhouse. Let me tell you, he doesn't care about the devouring spirit clan at all. He is looking for a real powerhouse." Wu Xingnan was about to speak when Yan Wu suddenly said, "That's what he said at that time." Yi Xian. Wu Xingnan didn't say anything. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "Senior, what did my big brother come here for?" Yan Wu softly said, "He said he sensed a powerful aura here." Yi Xian asked, "Invincible sect sovereign?" Yan Wu shook his head, "It's the aura left behind by that mysterious powerhouse." Mysterious powerhouse? Yi Xian asked again, "Did my big brother say anything in the end?" Yan Wu thought for a moment and then said, "He seems to have gone to find that mysterious powerhouse." Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "Senior, that mysterious powerhouse won't harm him, right?" Yan Wu softly said, "That kind of powerhouse, even if he can't live forever, I'm afraid it won't be a problem for him to live for hundreds of thousands of years. Of course, there shouldn't be many people like that since ancient times." As he said that, he looked at Yi Xian. "I didn't notice it earlier, but now I suddenly realize that you have a lot of karma on your body. However, this is not my body, so I can't feel too much." Karma. Yi Xian was silent. This was no longer a matter of one person talking about his karma. Did he have a lot of karma? He didn't know. He only knew that from the time he was born until now, the things that happened to him were indeed somewhat abnormal, including the appearance of the plain-dressed woman and Xiao Ta. Yi Xian shook his head, no longer thinking about these messy things. He looked at Yan Wu. "Senior, does this invincible sect have an inheritance?" Yan Wu laughed. "You're really direct." Yi Xian said with a smile, "That's why we are here." Yan Wu said, "Follow me." After saying that, he turned and walked into the hall. Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan hurriedly followed. Before long, Yan Wu brought Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan into the main hall. The main hall was very big, but it was empty. Yan Wu was about to speak when he suddenly turned around. In the square outside the main hall, the space there suddenly trembled. Soon, a man and a woman appeared in front of the 3 of them. Yan Wu laughed. "Today is interesting, there are actually 2 more people here." In the distance the man looked at Yan Wu and the others. Soon, his gaze landed on Wu Xingnan. "Wu Xingnan." Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan, but she shook her head. "I don't know you." The man smiled. "Miss Wu, I am Arrow Lian of the primordial race, and this person beside me is Xie Qing'er of the evil spirit race." Primordial race. Evil spirit race. Yi Xian looked at the 2 of them. Apart from the outsiders, all the super forces had come. Wu Xingnan nodded slightly, not saying anything else. Arrow looked at Yi Xian, smiled and said, "This must be Fu Wenzong's divine teacher Yi." Yi Xian nodded, "That's me." Arrow smiled, "I have long heard of divine teacher Ye's great name. Seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation." Yi Xian smiled, "Brother Arrow, you are here for the treasures, right?" Arrow nodded, "I want to try my luck." At that moment, Yan Wu suddenly said, "Everyone has a chance." Everyone looked at Yan Wu. Yan Wu turned and looked in front of him. He opened his palm and soon the space in front of him split open. Yan Wu said softly, "Everyone, the invincible sect's inheritance is inside. Go in. As for what you can obtain, that will depend on your luck." As he spoke, he looked at Yi Xian and the others. "Who wants to go first?" Arrow smiled without saying anything, and the Xie Qing'er beside him remained silent. Seeing that the 2 of them didn't move, Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. "Let's go first." Wu Xingnan nodded and soon the 2 of them entered the spatial rift. As soon as the 2 of them entered, Xie flew in as well. In the field, Yan Wu looked at Arrow. "Aren't you going in?" Arrow smiled. Of course I'm going in. With that he flew in. Yanwu shook his head and smiled, greed. With that he waved his right hand and the space was sealed. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Xian suddenly felt himself stop, and his surroundings were pitch black. Yi Xian said, Miss Lian Qian, what is this place? Lian Qian said, walk forward. Yi Xian nodded and he walked forward. Soon he arrived in front of a door and entered. Behind the door was a secret room. In the secret room, there was a portrait of a middle-aged man. Yi Xian looked at the portrait and then respectfully bowed, greetings, Senior. No response. Yi Xian hesitated and then said, Senior, if you have an inheritance you can consider me. Really, to speak immodestly, in the fifth dimension, I am known as the number one of the younger generation. If Senior gives me your inheritance, I will definitely carry forward Senior's knowledge. Still no response. Yi Xian was about to speak again, but at this time, a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. A soul body. This was a complete soul. The middle-aged man looked at Yi Xian and said with a smile, Your body is very good. I like it very much. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, Senior, are you going to take over my body? The corners of the middle-aged man's mouth rose slightly, yes. Is it unexpected? Is it a surprise? Yi Xian was silent. P.S. I'm too ashamed to ask for votes, so I'll give everyone a monthly vote red packet. If you vote, you can grab a red packet. Everyone remember to grab it. Chapter 931. Possession. Yi Xian did not expect to encounter such a thing again. Yi Xian looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. Is this a trap? The middle-aged man smiled. Smart. To tell you the truth, we were all lucky to survive that day. However, our bodies were destroyed and only our souls exist. Our goal is simple, to be reborn through possession. Yi Xian shook his head. I don't understand. Why did you wait until now to be reborn through possession? The middle-aged man chuckled. Because although we survived, our souls were extremely weak. During these long years we have been nurturing our souls. Although we waited for so long, fortunately the ending is good. Your body is very good, just right for me. Yi Xian suddenly asked, How many souls did you, Fu Wenzong, survive? The middle-aged man smiled. About 30 people. 30 people. In other words, there were 30 souls. Yi Xian nodded. Understood. The middle-aged man smiled. You are very calm. Your temperament is not bad. Yi Xian looked at the middle-aged man. Senior, are you sure you want to possess me? The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes. Why, do you want to say that you still have a trump card? Yi Xian smiled, and in the next moment he waved his right hand, and the soul-suppressing sword flew out. The moment he saw the soul-suppressing sword, the middle-aged man's expression instantly changed. This sword, as he spoke, he directly punched out, and a powerful soul force surged towards the soul-suppressing sword like a wave. However, the soul force was directly absorbed as soon as it came into contact with the soul-suppressing sword. Seeing this scene, the middle-aged man was shocked and he hurriedly said, Young friend, this is a misunderstanding, I did not, Chi. The soul-suppressing sword suddenly accelerated, and directly pierced the middle-aged man's eyebrows. In an instant, the middle-aged man was directly absorbed by the soul-suppressing sword. Boom. As soon as it was absorbed, a powerful soul force directly erupted from the soul-suppressing sword. Yi Xian looked at the soul-suppressing sword and was shocked. Actually, the current soul-suppressing sword was no longer weaker than the executing heaven sword, but in terms of sharpness, the soul-suppressing sword was still inferior to the executing heaven sword, but in terms of restraining the soul, the executing heaven sword was also inferior to the soul-suppressing sword. One sword targeted the physical body and the other targeted the soul. Just then, Soul's excited voice rang out in Yi Xian's mind. Young master, it's a great tonic. Yi Xian laughed. Soul, will you make another breakthrough? Little Soul said, yes. If I devour more of these souls, I can become even more powerful. I'm already very, very powerful. Yi Xian laughed and said, I know you are very, very powerful now. This wasn't a lie. With Soul's current ability, other than the souls of top-notch experts, ordinary souls couldn't even fight back against her. At this time, Little Soul suddenly said, Young master, if you fight against enemies in the future, you can use me. If his soul isn't strong enough, I can force his soul out of his body and kill him with a single slash. Yi Xian was a little surprised. Is that possible? Soul said, absolutely. Just like that girl from before, the one with the saber, her soul isn't particularly strong. If I directly use me, I'm very confident that I can force her soul out of her body. However, that girl is also very strong, so I can't guarantee that I can kill her. But if I devour a few more of these powerful souls and advance again, hee 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 hee. Wu Xingnan. Yi Xian was silent. He understood Wu Xingnan's strength, and he had to admit that she was really strong. Although he had the soul-suppressing sword and the executing heaven sword, she definitely had a trump card. After all, the martial kingdom was one of the most ancient forces in the world, so there would definitely be no lack of treasures. Therefore it would be very difficult to kill Wu Xingnan. However, if the soul-suppressing sword continued to improve like this, it would also be very terrifying. Not to mention anything else, if Wu Xingnan really only had a soul body left, he was very confident that he could kill her. The soul-suppressing sword was too good at restraining souls. As if he had thought of something, Yi Xian suddenly frowned. This Wu Xingnan is probably in danger as well. He tried to contact Wu Xingnan but he couldn't. There seemed to be a mysterious force sealing off the surroundings. Yi Xian thought about it and then shook his head. This Wu Xingnan's strength wasn't weaker than his, so she shouldn't be in danger. Yi Xian glanced around, then grasped the soul-suppressing sword, and then the space Dao appeared between his brows. A moment later he vanished on the spot. Not long after he arrived at another secret room. The secret room was empty and there was nothing in it. Yi Xian looked around, then bowed respectfully to the person in front of him. Junior greets senior. There was no response. Yi Xian thought about it, then turned around to leave. Suddenly the space in front of him trembled and soon, an old man appeared in front of him. It was also a soul body. The old man wore a black robe, had a long beard, and had a kind face. He seemed like a good person. When he saw this old man, Yi Xian was instantly excited, and he bowed respectfully again. Greetings, senior. The old man sized up Yi Xian, then nodded slightly and his eyes were filled with praise. Very good, very good. You're very outstanding. Yi Xian smiled. It's good that senior likes it. The old man stroked his beard lightly and smiled. The old man is very satisfied. You're the one. Yi Xian said with a serious expression. Thank you, senior. The old man waved at Yi Xian. Come, the old man will pass down everything he's learned to you. Yi Xian had an excited expression, and he walked over to the old man. A trace of pity flashed in the old man's eyes, and he placed his right hand on Yi Xian's shoulder. In the next moment, he transformed into a black ray of light that entered between Yi Xian's brows. Possession. Yi Xian said in shock. Senior, what are you doing? The old man laughed and said, What am I doing? Young man, I see that your strength is not bad and your body is ridiculously strong. Why are you so stupid? Old man, I'm going to possess you. Do you understand? Yi Xian was expressionless. I see that you're an old monster who has cultivated for countless years. How can you be so stupid? Or are you cultivating in the opposite direction? The more you cultivate, the lower your IQ? The old man said solemnly, What do you mean? Yi Xian shook his head and did not speak again. Very quickly, the old man's mournful scream sounded in his mind. With the soul-subduing sword and the world prison pagoda possessing him? What kind of joke was this? In Yi Xian's mind, the old man said in shock, You, what pagoda is this and this sword you? A moment later, the black-robed old man's voice gradually disappeared. Yi Xian did not let the world prison pagoda kill the old man because it would be too wasteful. Instead, he let the soul-suppressing sword absorb him. Next, Yi Xian came to the third secret room. Just like this, after about 4 hours, Yi Xian had already absorbed the souls of 6 super experts, and at this moment, the soul-suppressing sword's aura had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Yi Xian knew that the soul-suppressing sword was about to advance. Yi Xian was about to bring the soul-suppressing sword to the next secret room, but at this time, the soul-suppressing sword suddenly said, Young master, let me digest first. Yi Xian. Just like this, after about an hour, the soul-suppressing sword had completely absorbed the souls it had devoured before, and at this moment, its aura had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Little Soul suddenly said excitedly, Young master, one more powerful soul and I'll break through. Still missing one. Yi Xian nodded and he disappeared on the spot with Little Soul. In fact, if he did not have the Space Dao Law, it would still be difficult for him to leave this secret room at will, because this was an independent space and there was also a seal. Soon Yi Xian brought Little Soul to another secret room. When he arrived at this secret room, Yi Xian was immediately stunned. Because this secret room was different from the other secret rooms, it was not a secret room, but a large hall, and the hall was surrounded by all kinds of strange runes. Runes? Yi Xian took a closer look at the runes and soon he frowned. This is a ceiling rune formation. He looked in front of him where a pitch-black coffin was placed. The coffin was also covered with runes, and these runes were all blood-red as if they were drawn with blood. Yi Xian took a look at the blood-red talismans. Gradually, his expression became extremely grave because he discovered that these talismans were used to nurture souls. Moreover, these talismans were of a very high grade. The lowest grade was a 7-colored talisman. Yi Xian looked at the black coffin and he was a little surprised. Who was inside? At this moment, Lian Qian's voice suddenly sounded in Yi Xian's mind. Be careful, this place is a bit strange. Yi Xian nodded and he glanced around. This place was different from the previous ones, and the person inside this coffin was definitely a big shot. At this moment, Lian Qian suddenly asked, Do you want to open this coffin? Yi Xian looked at the black coffin, and after a moment of silence, he shook his head. No. As a person, one should not be too greedy. Although he had the soul-suppressing sword, it did not mean that he could suppress all souls, and at this moment he had a very unyielding feeling in this place. Danger. This was the feeling of danger. Without any hesitation, Yi Xian turned around to leave, but the moment he activated the Space Dao Law, a mysterious force suddenly enveloped the surroundings. Yi Xian's expression changed drastically, and he frantically activated the Space Dao Law, but the surrounding space became increasingly solid. Alarmed, Yi Xian hurriedly asked, Miss Lian Qian, do you have a way? After a moment, Lian Qian said solemnly, There's no way. I have to seal this pagoda, so be careful. Seal Xiaota? Yi Xian was stunned. What the hell? At this moment he had completely lost contact with Xiaota, and Xiaota was directly sealed, unable to sense the outside world. Yi Xian's expression was solemn. He knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. Yi Xian tried hard to calm himself down, and he turned to look at the black coffin not far away. At this moment, the black coffin suddenly trembled, and the runes on the coffin suddenly dimmed. Yi Xian's expression was calm. It was not going to let him go. At this moment, the coffin's lid suddenly opened, and the next moment, a jade-white hand reached out. Then, under Yi Xian's gaze, a woman climbed out of the coffin. Beautiful. This was Yi Xian's first thought. He could not describe this woman with any words, and he could only say that this was a woman who could make countless men go crazy. Of course, the most important thing was that this woman was naked, and even a certain part of her body was clean without a single hair. Chapter 932. In the secret chamber, Yi Xian was silent. Could it be that he had some luck with women recently? He had to admit that the woman in front of him was really beautiful. Her skin was as white as snow without a single blemish. Especially her eyes, which were so big that they seemed to speak. In all fairness, Yi Xian felt that many girls were even more beautiful without clothes. Although the woman in front of him had peerless beauty, he was not in the mood to admire her. Because just as the woman was about to appear, the world prison pagoda was sealed. He had rarely encountered such a situation. Most importantly, the woman in front of him was not a soul body. If this person was from the invincible sex era, how long had she lived? Yi Xian did not dare to think about it. After the woman walked out, she glanced around. There was a hint of confusion in her eyes. After a while, she seemed to recall something, and her eyes gradually became clear. In the end, she looked at Yi Xian, who was not far away from her. She sized him up. In the end, she waved her right hand, and the two swords suddenly flew in front of her. Soul-suppressing sword and executing heaven sword. After the woman sized up the two swords, she shook her head. Trash. Yi Xian's expression froze. Trash? Executing heaven sword and soul-suppressing sword were trash? This was the first time he had heard someone say that. The woman looked at Yi Xian, and after sizing up Yi Xian, she shook her head. Weak. Yi Xian opened his palm, and a robe appeared in his hand. He handed it to the woman. Miss, you should put on your clothes first. The woman looked at Yi Xian. It's just skin. Yi Xian was speechless. This woman was really open-minded. Yi Xian said, I don't think this is skin, this is dignity. The woman suddenly pointed with a finger, and Yi Xian's clothes instantly turned to ashes. The woman looked at Yi Xian. Have you lost your dignity now? Yi Xian hesitated, then shook his head. I have nothing to say. At this moment, the woman's gaze suddenly fell on a certain part of Yi Xian's lower body. Yi Xian hurriedly covered his mouth with his hands. He was shocked. What was this woman trying to do? The woman suddenly shook her head. Ugly as expected. What's the point of keeping someone so ugly? How about I get rid of it for you? Yi Xian was shocked and quickly said, You can't do that. This is the root of a man. If I remove it, what kind of man would I be? The woman looked at Yi Xian. Do you know why you're weak? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment before he said, I'm young. The woman shook her head. When I was your age, I was already invincible. Do you know why? Yi Xian glanced at the woman. Why? The woman replied, because I have no desire. Yi Xian furrowed his brows. Will you become very strong if you don't have desires? The woman said, no desire, no thought, see the essence return to nature. Yi Xian was speechless. The woman suddenly said, fine. I won't force you. As she spoke, she walked over to Yi Xian. She just looked at Yi Xian without saying a word. Yi Xian's scalp went numb from her gaze. Senior, what are you going to do? The woman looked at Yi Xian. Help me put on my clothes. Yi Xian's mind was in a mess. She wants me to help her put on her clothes? What's going on? Meanwhile, the woman suddenly asked, could it be that you want me to do it myself? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment before he said, isn't that slightly inconvenient? The woman's brows knit together slightly. What? You're unwilling? The temperature in the surroundings suddenly dropped, and it was like he was in an ice house. Yi Xian was shocked. She's angry. He hurriedly said, all right. As soon as he finished speaking, he started to help her put on her clothes. Needless to say, the woman's skin was really good, and her figure was excellent as well. She was big in the places that needed to be big and small in the places that needed to be small. Perfect. That was Yi Xian's evaluation of the woman. However, at this moment he did not dare to have any devious thoughts. This woman was too strong. He did not want to court death. After a while, the woman finished putting on her clothes, and Yi Xian retreated to the side. The woman looked at Yi Xian from head to toe. She waved her hand lightly, and in an instant, lines appeared around Yi Xian's body. These lines were very strange. They seemed to exist, but at the same time they were not. The woman said softly, karmic lines. Yi Xian did not understand. Karmic lines? The woman looked at Yi Xian. You give me a sense of familiarity, and I even feel a sense of closeness. I actually don't have any thoughts of killing you. How strange. Killing him. Yi Xian's eyelids twitched. This woman's thoughts were very dangerous. She was saying that he felt a sense of closeness. What did that mean? The woman looked around. Invincible sect. Yi Xian said, Senior, are you from the invincible sect? The woman shook her head. No. Yi Xian was about to speak when the woman suddenly said, but I was the one who destroyed the invincible sect. Hearing this, Yi Xian was shocked. Senior, you are that mysterious person. Mysterious person? The woman looked at Yi Xian. What mysterious person? Yi Xian shook his head. At that moment, his heart was like a tsunami. Previously, Yan Wu had told him that the invincible sect was destroyed by a mysterious person. But he did not expect that the woman in front of him was that mysterious person. But why was this woman here? Yi Xian collected his thoughts and looked at the woman. Senior, why did you destroy the invincible sect? The woman said nonchalantly, I don't like the name of their sect. Yi Xian's throat rolled. That's it? The woman looked at Yi Xian. Isn't that reason enough? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment. You destroyed their entire sect just because of this? That's a little cruel. The woman retorted, shouldn't it be destroyed? Yi Xian. The woman looked at Yi Xian. Have you eaten pork before? Yi Xian nodded. Yes. The woman asked, just because you like to eat pork you killed pigs? Don't you think that you're very cruel? Yi Xian said in a low voice, that's a pig. The woman asked again, the reason pigs are eaten by humans is because they are weak. They can't fight against humans. Don't talk about cruelty. Humans are the cruelest creatures in the world. Yi Xian was speechless. The woman continued, one day humans will also become pigs, pigs in the eyes of other living beings. Tendo has reincarnation. Who will the heavens spare? The final outcome for humans is to seek their own destruction. Yi Xian said in a low voice, Senior, aren't you human too? The woman asked, did I tell you that I'm human? Yi Xian was astonished. You're not human? The woman blinked. I'm not human. Yi Xian said in a low voice, then what kind of creature are you, Senior? The woman thought for a moment and said, I don't belong to any of the creatures that you know of. Yi Xian was slightly puzzled. What do you mean? The woman didn't answer. She glanced at the surroundings and then she took out a glowing jade disc. The jade disc started to spin rapidly. A short while later, the corners of the woman's mouth curled up slightly. There's still 10 years until the calamity. As she spoke, she turned to look at Yi Xian and said excitedly, in 10 years all humans will die. Yi Xian, the woman smiled again. I've been in deep sleep for so many years. That day can finally come. Yi Xian said in a low voice, Senior, why do you want humans to be destroyed? The woman gazed at Yi Xian. Since I was born, my duty has been to destroy humans. Yi Xian frowned slightly. Why is that? The woman smiled. In the beginning, I didn't really understand my duty. But after I lived with humans for some time, I realized that humans are really cruel, selfish, have boundless desires, and plunder without restraint. In short, I hate humans. Yi Xian said in a low voice, You don't hate me? The woman blinked. I don't think so. You give me a familiar feeling and I can't bring myself to hate you. You're the second human that I don't hate. Yi Xian asked, Why? Also, who's the first? The woman said, I don't know about the first. I can't tell you about the second. Yi Xian fell silent. He had to admit that this woman was quite mysterious. Yi Xian gazed at the woman. What's your name, Senior? The woman replied, Number 9. Yi Xian frowned slightly. Number 9? You're called Number 9? The woman nodded. Yes, Number 9. Yi Xian had a slightly strange expression on his face. What sort of name is that? Meanwhile, Number 9 suddenly waved his right hand lightly. In an instant, the space in the surroundings started to shatter into pieces. Yi Xian was shocked and he hurriedly said, Senior, what are you doing? Number 9 said, I'm leaving. Yi Xian intended to say something else, but the space here had shattered completely. When he appeared once more, he was already in front of the hall that he'd come from. The drill ground wasn't too far away from Yi Xian. The drill ground frowned slightly when he saw Yi Xian. You? Right at this moment, Number 9 suddenly waved his right hand, and the drill ground's soul transformed into a strand of green smoke that vanished completely. His soul was obliterated. Yi Xian turned to look at Number 9. Number 9 said, I don't want to see a human. Yi Xian was speechless. Suddenly, the space in the distance started to tremble, and then a woman suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. It was Wu Xingnan. Meanwhile, Number 9 was about to attack, but Yi Xian reacted swiftly and held her in his arms. Miss Number 9, calm down. Calm down. Number 9 blinked and then she gazed at Yi Xian. You know her? Yi Xian nodded. Yes, she's my friend. We're on the same side. Number 9 said, Make her vanish from my sight in 3 breaths of time. Otherwise I'll kill her. Yi Xian's face darkened. Can't you just not kill her? Number 9 shook her head. I must kill any human I see. Yi Xian frowned slightly. What? Number 9 said, Because that's how I've been programmed. Yi Xian was just about to speak when Number 9 suddenly looked at Wu Xingnan. In the next moment she was about to attack. Yi Xian was shocked, and he hurriedly grabbed Number 9 and rolled to the side. Just like that, the two of them rolled to the ground. Yi Xian hurriedly said, Miss Wu, hurry up and run. Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian and Number 9 on the ground, and then she didn't hesitate to turn around and vanish into the horizon. Because in that instant just now, she'd sensed the aura of death. On the ground, Number 9 gazed at Yi Xian. Why don't I want to kill you? Yi Xian blushed with shame. What a question. Yi Xian thought for a moment and then he said, Senior, do you want to kill someone? Number 9 shrugged. I'll kill anyone I see. Yi Xian said seriously, Senior, I'll take you to a place. There are many people there, so feel free to kill them. Number 9 nodded. All right. Yi Xian was overjoyed. He took Number 9's hand and said, Let's go. I'll take you to kill someone. On the way, Yi Xian roared with laughter in his heart. Devouring Spirit Clan, tremble before me. P.S. It said that the readers are amazing. Come, guess the true identity of this Number 9. I want to see if any of the readers can guess it correctly. If so, I'll give you a gift exclusive to a character from the Sword domain. Chapter 933. When Yi Xian learned that Number 9 wanted to kill people, the first thing he thought of was the Devouring Spirit Clan. He didn't know how strong Number 9 was, but he knew that she was definitely not weaker than Yi Ling and the others and might even be stronger. This was his intuition. She was an old monster who had lived for tens of thousands of years. The only bad thing about her was that she wanted to kill anyone she saw. What kind of creature was she? There was no answer because Number 9 didn't want to tell him. On the way, Number 9 suddenly said, Do you like killing people too? Killing people. Yi Xian thought for a moment and then said, Sometimes. Number 9 said with a smile, We have the same ideal. Yi Xian hesitated for a moment and then said, In this world, some people do deserve to die but not everyone. Number 9 shook her head. When you eat pork, do you think it's a good pig or a bad pig? Yi Xian was speechless. In fact, he was a bit disgusted with number 9's way of thinking and logic, but from another perspective, what she said was not completely unreasonable. Imagine if one day, there was a race that was countless times more powerful than humans. Would this race treat humans the same way humans treated livestock? This was a question worth pondering. Yi Xian shook his head and then said, Miss Number 9, why do you keep telling me this? Number 9 said with a smile, because I think you are different from other humans and I can try to save you. Yi Xian was a bit curious. Why do you think I am different from other humans? Number 9 said, I just feel that there is no why. Yi Xian decided not to discuss this with number 9 anymore, because he found that number 9's four-dimensional logic was completely different from that of humans. In a short while, Yi Xian arrived at the Devouring Spirit clan with number 9. As soon as he arrived, several powerful auras directly enveloped him. At this time, an old man appeared in front of Yi Xian, and he looked coldly at Yi Xian. He was about to speak when number 9 suddenly slapped him with her palm. Bang! The old man was directly transformed into a pile of blood mist. His divine soul was destroyed. Yi Xian's eyelids twitched when he saw this. This woman really hates humans. At this moment, a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. The middle-aged man stared at number 9. Your Excellency is... Ninth suddenly punched out. Boom. The middle-aged man directly turned into nothingness, as if he had never appeared. Yi Xian was speechless. Boom. Right at this moment, a powerful aura suddenly swept out from within the radiant dimension, and its target was Yi Xian and number 9. Number 9 looked at the powerful aura, but she didn't make a move. Yi Xian quietly retreated behind number 9. He knew that the real experts of the Devouring Spirit clan had come out. When the powerful aura arrived above Jiujiu's head, the aura suddenly disappeared without a trace. It was as if it had never appeared in the first place. Meanwhile, a figure suddenly appeared in the clouds in the sky. Yuan Tian. The Grand Heavenly Master of the Devouring Spirit clan was also one of the top experts of the Devouring Spirit clan. However, it was obviously not his real body. It was just a projection. Yuan Tian looked at number 9 below with a dignified expression. Your Excellency, who are you? Number 9 suddenly frowned, her eyes full of disgust. You are a human. Your whole family is human. As she spoke, she clenched her fist towards the sky. The entire sky turned into a vortex, and Yuan Tian, who was in the middle of the vortex, had a drastic change in his expression. He gently pressed down with both hands, and the space around him directly distorted. At this moment, number 9 suddenly punched out. Boom. In the sky, Yuan Tian flew out, and when he stopped, his projection disappeared without a trace. Number 9 shook her head. Weak. Qingqing Yi Family Ancestral Temple. Ancestors. Yi Xian has no talent and no virtue. From now on, Yi Xian's position as crown prince will be replaced by Yi Lang. The one who spoke was an old man in a black robe. Not far behind the old man stood a young man with a faint smile on his face. This person was Yi Lang. On both sides there were the elders of the Yi residence. Why? Right at this moment, a slightly timid voice suddenly resounded within the ancestral hall. Everyone turned to look and saw a little girl standing at the door. She was about 12 or 13 years old, and her hands were tightly gripping the hem of her skirt. Her face had a sickly pallor and she looked a little weak. There was even a trace of fear in her eyes. This girl was called Yi Ling and she was Yi Xian's sister. When she heard that Yi Xian was to be replaced, she ignored her illness and rushed over. The black-robed old man frowned. Yi Ling, what are you doing? The little girl called Yi Ling bowed slightly to everyone, asking timidly, Great Elder, my brother Yi Xian is the crown prince. Why did you cripple him for no reason? The Great Elder eyed Yi Ling coldly. This is a matter of the clan, what are you butting in for? Yi Ling was obviously afraid, not daring to look at the Great Elder, but she did not leave. Instead, she plucked up her courage and walked into the ancestral hall. Once again she bowed to the elders. Elders, my brother is fighting with the Li clan over the mining rights at Nanshan. He's fighting for the clan and we don't know if he's dead or alive. Yet, the clan is using a groundless excuse to strip him of his position. This is unfair. Impudent. The Great Elder suddenly raged. Whether he's stripped or not, it's not up to a little girl like you to decide. Men, drag her away. At this time, the new crown prince Yi Lang suddenly laughed. He should be flogged 30 times as a warning. The Great Elder replied coldly, then flog him 30 times. Very quickly 2 Yi residence guards rushed in. Yi Ling clenched her fists and said angrily, "This is unfair. My brother has risked his life for the clan for so many years and even now he's fighting for the clan. This is unfair to him." One of the guards glanced at the new crown prince Yi Lang. He knew that his chance to shine had come. The guard sneered, "Young Master Yi Lang inherits the crown prince's position, and it's everyone's wish. What are you yelling about?" As he spoke, he raised his hand and slapped Yi Ling's face. Slap. A crisp slap sounded, and the right side of Yi Ling's face instantly turned red and swollen. However, she didn't cry and only held her cheek tightly. Yi Lang looked at the guard and smiled, "What's your name?" The guard hurriedly bowed. "This subordinate Zhang Mu greets the crown prince." Yi Lang nodded, "You're not bad. After I become the crown prince, I'll need 10 personal guards. From now on you'll be my personal guard." Hearing this, Zhang Mu was overjoyed and hurriedly bowed deeply. "This subordinate is willing to go through fire and water for the crown prince, and I'm willing to die 1,000 deaths." Yi Lang nodded, "Drag him away. This person is causing trouble in the ancestral hall, do not hold back. Understood?" Zhang Mu glanced at Yi Lang, and when he saw the killing intent in Yi Lang's eyes, he understood. He immediately grabbed Yi Ling's hair and dragged her out. At this time Zhang Mu seemed to have seen something and he suddenly stopped. Within the ancestral hall, everyone turned their heads to look outside. Not far from the ancestral hall, a young man was walking towards the ancestral hall. He was dressed in a tight-fitting robe that was tattered and covered in blood. This person was Yi Xian, who had rushed back from the Nanshan. Seeing Yi Xian, Yi Lang's lips curled into a cold smile. Within the ancestral hall, all the elders were frowning. The great elder narrowed his eyes and his face was dark. No one knew what he was thinking. From afar, when Yi Xian saw Zhang Mu dragging Yi Ling, his face turned savage. "Who gave you the guts to touch my sister?" When Zhang Mu saw Yi Xian, his face changed. He quickly looked at Yi Lang and was about to speak, when Yi Xian suddenly leaped in front of him like a ferocious tiger. Before the latter could react, Yi Xian's fist landed on his face. Zhang Mu felt a wave of dizziness and he stumbled and fell. However, Yi Ling did not stop and he rushed towards Zhang Mu again. At this time Yi Lang suddenly roared, "Yi Xian, he's my man, how dare you?" Yi Xian suddenly stepped on Zhang Mu's chest. Oh. Zhang Mu spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Yi Lang's face turned ugly, while Yi Xian lifted his head to look at him, asking savagely, "Your man?" As he spoke, he stomped down on Zhang Mu's face. Zhang Mu's face turned into a bloody mess as he screamed, "Prince, save me!" Yi Xian did not care about Zhang Mu as he walked to Yi Ling's side. Seeing Yi Ling's state, Yi Xian felt as though his heart was being sliced by a knife. He clenched his fists and his entire body trembled. When Yi Ling saw Yi Xian, tears welled up in her eyes. "Brother, it hurts, it hurts." Hearing this, Yi Xian's expression turned savage. In the next instant he charged in front of Zhang Mu and kicked Zhang Mu's head. Qingqing Yi Clan Ancestral Hall. Ancestors, Yi Xian has no talent, no virtue? From now on Yi Xian's position as prince shall be replaced by Yi Lang. The one who spoke was an old man in black robes. Not far behind the old man, there was a youth with a faint smile on his face. This person was Yi Lang. On both sides there were the elders of the Yi clan. What? Right at this moment, a slightly timid voice suddenly resounded within the ancestral hall. Everyone turned to look and saw a little girl standing at the door. She was about 12 or 13 years old, and her hands were tightly gripping the hem of her skirt. Her face had a sickly pallor and she looked a little weak. There was even a trace of fear in her eyes. This girl was called Yi Ling, and she was Yi Xian's younger sister. When she heard that Yi Xian was to be replaced, she disregarded her illness and rushed over. The black-robed old man frowned. "Yi Ling, what are you doing?" The girl called Yi Ling bowed to everyone in the hall as she asked timidly, "Great elder, my brother Yi Xian is the prince. Why did you cripple him for no reason?" The great elder looked at Yi Ling coldly. "This is a matter of the clan, what are you interrupting for?" Yi Ling was clearly a little fearful. She did not dare to look the great elder in the eye, but she did not leave. Instead, she mustered up her courage and walked into the ancestral hall. She bowed to the elders on both sides of the hall and said, "Elders, my brother is currently fighting with the Li family for the mining rights of the mine in Nanshan. He is now fighting for the family, and it is unknown whether he is alive or dead. However, the family has used a groundless excuse to remove his position as the crown prince." Impudent. The great elder suddenly raged, "Whether he's crippled or not, it's not up to a little girl like you to decide. Men drag her away. At this time the new prince Yi Lang suddenly laughed. He should be flogged 30 times as a warning to others. The great elder replied coldly, then flog him 30 times. Very quickly 2 Yi clan's guards rushed in. Yi Ling clenched her fists and said angrily, "This is unfair. My brother has risked his life for the clan for so many years and even now he's fighting for the clan. The clan is unfair to him." One of the guards glanced at the new prince Yi Lang. He knew that this was his chance to shine. The guard sneered, "Young Master Yi Lang inherits the title of prince. What are you shouting about?" As he spoke he raised his hand and slapped Yi Ling's face. Slap. A crisp slap sounded, and the right side of Yi Ling's face instantly turned red and swollen. However, she did not cry and only held her cheek tightly. Yi Lang looked at the guard and smiled, "What's your name?" The guard quickly bowed. "This subordinate Zhang Mu greets the prince." Yi Lang nodded, "You're not bad. After I become the prince I'll need 10 guards. From now on you'll be my guard." Hearing this, Zhang Mu was overjoyed and quickly bowed deeply. "This subordinate will go through fire and water for the prince and I'll do anything for you." Yi Lang nodded, "Drag him away. This person is causing trouble in the ancestral hall. Don't hold back, understand?" Zhang Mu glanced at Yi Lang, and when he saw the murderous intent in Yi Lang's eyes, he understood. He immediately grabbed Yi Ling's hair and dragged her out. At this moment Zhang Mu saw something and suddenly stopped. Inside the ancestral hall, everyone turned their heads to look outside the hall. Not far from the ancestral hall, a young man was walking towards the ancestral hall. The young man wore a tight-fitting robe that was tattered, and there was blood everywhere. The young man was Yi Xian, who had rushed back from Nanshan. Seeing Yi Xian, Yi Lang's mouth curled into a cold smile. In the ancestral hall the elders frowned. The great elder squinted his eyes and his face was dark. No one knew what he was thinking. From afar, when Yi Xian saw Zhang Mu dragging Yi Ling, his face turned savage. "Who gave you the guts to touch my sister?" When Zhang Mu saw Yi Xian his face changed. He quickly looked at Yi Lang and was about to speak. At this time Yi Xian leaped in front of him like a ferocious tiger. Before the latter could react, Yi Xian's fist landed on his face. Zhang Mu felt dizzy and he stumbled and fell. Yi Lang did not stop there and rushed towards Zhang Mu again. At this time Yi Lang suddenly roared, "Yi Xian, he's my man, how dare you!" Yi Xian suddenly stepped on Zhang Mu's chest. Zhang Mu spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Yi Lang's face turned ugly, while Yi Xian lifted his head to look at him, asking savagely, "Your man?" As he spoke, he stomped on Zhang Mu's face. Zhang Mu's face turned into a bloody mess as he screamed, "Prince, save me!" Yi Xian did not care about Zhang Mu as he walked to Yi Ling's side. Seeing Yi Ling's state, Yi Xian felt as though his heart was being sliced by a knife. He clenched his fists and his entire body trembled. When Yi Ling saw Yi Xian, her tears flowed. "Brother, it hurts, it hurts." Hearing this, Yi Xian's expression turned savage. In the next instant he charged in front of Zhang Mu and kicked Zhang Mu's head. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.